Lynch, report in.
Red 10 standing by.
Red 7 standing by.
Red 3 standing by. Red 6 standing by.
Red 9 standing by.
Red 2 standing by.
Red 11 standing by.
Red 5 standing by.
Welcome. Sorry about the delay. I have I've never done this. I don't think I've ever had more than one other guest on my show, and they almost always via remote. But I have these fine gentlemen in here today because we are live from Las Vegas, Nevada, the Rational Male and the Man Center. Red one. You know, there's some new coming out called Red One. Ryan Wendell. Anyway, let's talk about why women don't jump in. We're going to get into some old guy issues today. I don't think we've ever done an old guy. Have we done an old guy? I did last week. I did a show on why women love older men, and people are lost their minds on that one. But in the meantime,
we could get some living proof.
Yeah, exactly. I know. All right. Okay, so for today, we got these going right now.
Okay, I just started Hinge 3 days ago, and this is how many notifications I have. I'm a little overwhelmed. Are you clicking on it? What do you want to see? I don't even know how this app works. Trent, I don't look at those.
Oh, there's all the matches.
All the roses that I've been given? Are the roses a big deal?
I don't know.
Okay, I just started Hinge.
Are the roses a big deal? This was too good.
He trying to casually date and you were all in?
Oh, yeah, girl. Anyways, long story short, it wasn't that cute of a relationship at first. I hated him. I loved him. I dated the backup to piss him off, which worked.
Yes.
He was like,
that'll do it.
He was the bad boy, too. Like, Matthew's so sweet and Southern gentleman and all that stuff. And the backup was the complete opposite.
Yeah.
Ooh, and it upset him. So they lived in the same dorm because athletes lived in the same dorm. And he would see my car there. And so at one point, he like waited and followed me out and got in my car and wouldn't get out.
Stop.
And he was like,
this is so hot.
I was like, this is amazing. It's working.
Yeah.
I was get out of my car and he was like, he's not right for you. And I was like, what? You can't tell me that.
Your roster.
There's only one I want. I love you, Pookie, forever.
How do you get over a breakup?
The only way to get over one is get under another. Beat the cobwebs off this thing.
This mother don't miss.
What's one move in bed that makes a man go crazy every time?
You gotta give him that hawk to it. Spit on that thing. You get me?
And that's when she like me.
This is a PSA. If you happen to stumble upon your boyfriend or your husband's or your fiance's Instagram Explore page and you're a bit concerned
Happen to stumble upon it. Right? Choice of words is very important here.
about the things that you see, that mirrors their interest. That does not just pop up there accidentally. And so if your man is looking at pictures of half-naked girls and asses, in some way, they had to seek that out. And I promise you, not all guys are like that. Like my husband, his entire Explore page is koala bears and sports and garden inspiration.
Does this surprise anyone?
Hilarious. What a red flag.
Well, I tell you what's funny is like she's like, he has to seek that out. Do you know how many bitches are coming to my
I have
my
koala.
feed?
I lived in Australia, and if I have koalas on mine, just shoot me now.
My producer's husband's Explore page is literally just barstool and sports. Again, it mirrors their interests. And to the men, clear your mind of that filth. It'll be better for you. It'll be better for your relationship. It'll be better for society in general.
Yes. So don't even think about it. Look at that eyes. Look at those eyes, man.
Yes.
Scary. That's what you do.
A man who is such a safe bet and so secure, submission is a natural consequence. Now, if you refuse to do that because you don't see, like, it just goes against everything, the narrative you've been taught, you're depriving yourself of a really beautiful relationship. I'm not saying submit to every man, but a good man who cares about your well-being, you'd be a fool not to submit to him. You'd be a fool to argue with him. You'd be missing out on a great connection simply because you want to maintain your independence, but independence is overrated.
younger people, when they're immature, they don't recognize that. They think the subconscious and the conscious are the same thing. They don't understand there's anger in me. They think I'm angry. I'm angry is not a true statement. You're not angry. There's anger in you. Those are two different things. There's an observer of the anger, and then there's the anger, and they're separate. If you think the anger is you, then that means you have no control. That means when you killed someone or ran your car over someone or shot someone, that means you're not responsible for it, and you are responsible. You're responsible for your actions. When you're young, especially when you're really young, you don't know you're responsible for your actions. As you get older, you come to the realization, no matter how I feel inside, I'm responsible for my behavior outside. And the way I'm able to differentiate the two is by observing my feelings rather than thinking that I am my feelings.
Forgot our water.
He's gaslighting us. That's what gaslighting is.
Yeah, no, that's gaslighting. That is abuse.
He's a narcissist. He can't hold space for us.
I'm literally a fucking empath. I hold space all the time.
I'm holding so much space all the time. Like right now, I'm holding the handicap space.
Like in the parking lot?
Yes, I'm holding it for me.
Not for someone with a handicap?
No, it's self-care.
Oh, if it's self-care, then no, you're fine.
I'm a hero.
I've actually been having a lot of intrusive thoughts lately.
That's traumatizing.
Like thoughts of like intruding on people's weddings I wasn't invited to. I'm feeling that for me.
I have that with funerals I wasn't invited to. What is that?
I think I'm gonna do it.
I don't think that's an intrusive thought. I think you're manifesting that.
No, it's me making a plan to intrude on purpose.
And you know what that is your boundary.
My boundary is I need to crash other people's weddings.
Have I told you I'm working on my body dysmorphia?
Oh my God, how?
I'm doing exposure therapy. Basically, I expose myself to people on the subway.
Oh, is that good? Does that work?
You know, it hasn't. It's actually just been triggering my ankle monitor because I can't leave the house.
Oh yeah, no, that's crossing a boundary that the state set for you on where you're legally allowed to be.
Yeah. Have you actually ever been to therapy?
No, God no. Have you?
No, that crosses a boundary for me.
Who treat women well. And I'll tell you why. When you treat women well, they become better human beings. When you see that broken woman that's horrible, horrendous, cruel, cheating, there's a man that's hurt her, maybe her father, it might be a partner, somebody's hurt her. And what happens when men don't treat women well? We create a society of soulless women. We create a bunch of women who are just egotistical, narcissistic, they are hyper-independent, they lose their kindness. But when you take women who are loved by a man, whether it's a father, a brother, a partner, when she's loved by a man, she is the kindest, softest, sweetest woman. So if you want to create a legacy and an environment where you change this kind of woman, treat them with love and respect.
Learned in the last 20 years of research in neuroimaging, behavior genetics, developmental psychology, neuropsychology can be boiled down to this phrase. Your child is born with more than 400 psychological traits that will emerge as they mature, and they have nothing to do with you. So the idea that you are going to engineer personalities and IQ and academic achievement skills and all these other things just isn't true. Your child is not a blank slate on which you get to write. The better view is that your child is a genetic mosaic of your extended family, which means this is a unique combination of the traits that run in your family line. I like the shepherd view. You are a shepherd. You don't design the sheep. The engineering view makes you responsible for everything. Everything that goes right and everything that goes wrong. This is why parents come to us with such guilt, more guilt than we've ever seen in prior generations. Because parents today believe that it's all about them and what they do. And if they don't get it right, or if their child has a disability, they've done something wrong. When in fact, the opposite is true. This has nothing to do with your particular brand of parenting. So I would rather that you stop thinking yourself as an engineer and step back and say, I am a shepherd to a unique individual. Shepherds are powerful people. They pick the pastures in which the sheep will graze and develop and grow. They determine whether they're appropriately nourished. They determine whether they're protected from harm. The environment is important, but it doesn't design the sheep. No shepherd is going to turn a sheep into a dog. Ain't going to happen, right?
All right, fellas. Now we can come back in. Okay, good enough. These guys have never been on this show before, so they don't know how the thing is run here. But guys, we're going to do something a little bit different today. I've got special guests in the house today. I have Joe Marin here on the end. If you can swing over. Yeah, there you go. Got Joe over here. I've got Jim Kilgore, debonair, the most interesting man in the world today. And I've got Tristan Darshan from MOA. Let's introduce you guys real quick. Tristan, what do you do for MOA?
I really help run their program. I'm Mike's co-host, Access Vegas every once in a while, and starting up my own podcast under Michael as well.
Yeah, well, I'll be putting that in the description here in a bit, and I'll throw you out on the banner here too. Now, Jim, what do you do?
I'm an airline pilot. I'm a captain. I'm also a line check airman, and I do flight testing on aircraft when they come out of Vegas.
And how do I know you?
I moved to Vegas because of you. I am
Really?
here. Yeah, I read the Player's Handbook. You got to go where the fish are.
Mhm.
So I moved to Vegas, and then I looked you up and was able to meet you at Access Vegas back in January.
Mhm.
And it's been all awesome since then.
And are you say you're living here now?
Yeah, I live in Vegas now.
Yeah. Yep. And I got Joe Marin. Joe is my partner for my business partner for our new program that we've got going on for with MOA. We're partnering with MOA. And we really don't have like a really working title yet, other than the fact that we've been calling it the Masters Series, or I keep, every time we talk about it, we call it the Masters or the Gentleman's Club. We're calling it the Gentleman's Club, but I'm like, that kind of sounds too much like a strip club.
Exactly.
So
it's not a bad idea.
Yeah. So Joe, introduce yourself.
Yeah. So I was also in the Marine Corps, like James here.
Oh, that's right.
And pilot also, fighter, actually naval aviator, not a pilot. And working with divorced guys, helping them go out and build great social lives. So yeah, just so we don't isolate and stay at home alone and get out. And so that's kind of what Rollo and I are going to be working on.
Yeah. Yeah. So I wanted to bring you guys in because I wanted to, I don't think I've ever seen a show like this before, quite honestly, where we're like more, let's just say seasoned gentlemen. How old are you?
58.
And you are?
56.
Same as me, 56. And you are
24.
24. I got one young buck. Okay. That's okay. We need
our quota down there at the end.
We need new eyes. We need fresh eyes in here as well. Yeah. So we are in, if you're getting a little bit of echo or you're getting any kind of audio issues, let us know in the chat, just because we're still kind of working things out with multiple microphones and everything like that. I'm the only one with headphones on, so I'm the only one who can really sort of get the feedback right now. But we are now moving things along with this the studio that we're in right now. I'm looking out here at a very blank wall in a very open area right now. Can you is the audio still okay? Yeah. Okay, because I just dropped in volume just a little bit here. Okay, bring me up just a touch in my headphones. There you go. 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2. That's good. Okay, perfect. Yeah. So people thought I was in my 40s. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. So we're just going to be a little bit topical today and just sort of like move around on topics that are sort of important to us. Do we really want to talk about the debates? I'm trying to, like, whenever I was talking, like I was tweeting about the debate, and I know you have some interesting takes on this as well.
Definitely.
But I find it interesting right now that I see a lot of people who want to become like sort of red pill adjacent, and in fact, I'm kind of getting a little bit sick of listening to people say that, because a lot of people want to say that they that they don't want to be 100% on board with whatever the red pill has become up to this stage. And I'm going to tell you right now that if that's something that you're like, these streamers who for really the last like maybe 18 months have been gravy training the red pill topics, and suddenly they want to be dating coaches, that they want to be they want to have a dating show like the Pop the Balloon show that we're doing at Access Vegas, those kind of things. Yeah. And now I see a lot of people sort of pivoting out of the red pill. Don't worry, this is not a political show. I am not politically adjacent. I'm always going to be red pill. There's no way that I can avoid that. So I pretty much accepted my fate. It's never going to happen that way. But I think that a lot of the stuff that we're seeing going on right now, as far as social issues and stuff, I was supposed to, Mike and I were supposed to go on with Tom Bellew. We were supposed to have a date. I think it was back in like April or May. And it never really materialized. And I don't think it'll probably materialize until like November 6th.
Yeah, well, after the election.
Yeah, right after the election.
Shock.
Because everybody's going over to political topics right now. They're going over social issues and things like that, or the culture war or whatever else. And as you guys know, I've been on Tim Pool. I was actually talking about more red pill kind of, intersectional dynamics when I was on there. But it was under the guise of I was on there with Tim Gordon, and it was under the guise of, we're going to talk about like, how we can save the West, and how, Orthodox Catholicism or Orthodox Eastern Orthodox or whatever your franchise of religion happens to be is the path forward kind of thing. And so there's always going to be this sort of crossover between the red pill and other social issues. So like, I'll just repeat for the record here that I'm not a political show. I've never been a political show. I'm never going to be a political show. I'm not a religious show. I'm not going to talk about ethno-nationalism or racist or anything like that. In fact, I'm on record as saying that I don't think that the red pill needs to be, well, I was saying that it needs to be a-religious, a-social, a-political, a-racial, because it's intersectional dynamics and it applies to all of us. So in many different facets. But when people say, well, Rolly, you authored a book called Religion. Like, yeah, I did, because there's a crossover between the red pill and intersectional dynamics and religion and social issues and politics. So if it's something like I've written essays on the election between Trump and Hillary, because you had a man and a woman, right? You had the ultimate feminist. I mean, okay. So if you were going to exaggerate feminism in one person, embody it in one person, and just take it to the nth degree, like you can't go any higher than this, that's going to be Hillary Clinton. And there was only one guy who you could take, crazy over the top macho masculinity that could possibly compete with that. And unfortunately, that was Donald Trump in 2016, right? So if anyone could have beaten Hillary, it was Trump, because you're looking at two sort of like extremes of those archetypes right there. So that's fair game as far as I'm concerned. So when I talk about those things, but I'm never going to be politically adjacent. I'm never going to be a politics show. I'm never going to be anything other than a red pill show. And I am taking names right now because I know all these people who have been sort of making a nice little living off of doing these topics up to now, and now they've decided that they want to pick. I'm not picking that Tom Bellew or anything like that, but he's going to do what he's going to do. But I think it's interesting to see a lot of people sort of fleeing from the red pill right now, and I think that once 2025 rolls back around, it's all going to come full circle, and it's going to be a cycle again.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. What do we got here? The debate gave us an opportunity to bring up the very real topic of elder abuse. I almost felt sorry for Biden. Yeah, same here, almost. I'll just state for the record that, as you guys probably know, my father passed away from Alzheimer's dementia in 2010, and he started getting early onset as early as like 64, and he passed away when he was 72. So anybody who has dealt with an elderly parent who has had Alzheimer's, and it goes through stages and stuff. And, there's a stage where it's manageable and you can go over there. And then suddenly one day dad needs to go into assisted living because you can't keep up with, you can't be there 24/7. And as part of that, it goes through, you go through the cycle where he can't remember your name, then he can't remember the kids' names, and he can't remember the dogs' names. And there's physical cues and verbal cues, and not being able to, string a coherent sentence together, and mumbling and being on one topic and then moving on to another. And then there's the very annoying one, with a threat to personal safety, where they can't drive anymore. You can't let them out of the house because they don't know how to use a crosswalk anymore, and those kinds of things. Now, anybody who has had to deal with Alzheimer's dementia and an elderly parent, I'm just from my own experience, I look at Biden and I go, yeah, the guy is definitely, he needs to be in assisted living, is really where he needs to be. And so as far as elderly abuse is concerned, I would say anybody who has had to go through that, I don't see how that's not apparent in him as well. So that said, yeah, we did watch the debates, and I'm not going to get too deep in too lost in the sauce with that stuff. So I wanted to talk about some things that are sort of like particular to us. Joe, you and I got together to do this program through MOA with the 45 to 65-year-old demographic. And I'm just going to tell you, like I've already told you guys this, but maybe the people who are like my audience doesn't know this, is I got into doing this because I started working with MOA with you guys. Yeah. And you guys do what's called an immersive. Can you tell us what is involved? Immersion. What is involved in that?
Yeah, the best way to describe an immersion is like right in the name, is like helping guys who, were out of like the game per se, out of like the social scene, get back into it, and doing it in a place, Vegas, where it's very hard and you're going to have the most stimulus. I mean, look, you've been out in Vegas with us, right? You know how it gets, right? So the idea would be to actually see these guys in the field, see how they interact, see how they speak, see how they carry themselves, and really give them, the skills and real life feedback that they need so that they can actually go out and crush it in Vegas, but also back to wherever they came from.
Okay. So what does it make, what makes it different than say like the old school pickup artists, like hot seats and what is it? Masterminds and stuff.
Yeah.
I hate that word too, by the way.
No.
So we need something new.
No, 'cause that's actually where the term, just to give them credit, the term immersion did come from like the traditional like pickup, like boot camps and stuff like that. That's like where that actual term comes from. The difference is that first off, the biggest thing is that it's not about like going up and like doing seduction, like doing all these tricks and like seducing women. That's not what it's about, because you know, if you've done enough pickup, you understand like that doesn't really take you anywhere. That's not something you can really build off of. Really, what this is about is actually learning how to obviously do everything that Moy talks about, right? Building social circle, building social proof, and building status. Obviously, women will be a component of that, but it's about actually how do you build a real social circle in the world in a week. Right? Pickup boot camps are like a day, a weekend, because it's all really short term. This is about learning the skills to actually build a level of status and build a community around you in just 1 week by actually going out and putting yourself out there.
What's the youngest and what's the oldest of the guys that have been in the immersion?
In the immersion, oh no, the immersion definitely has ranges. Like I've had, like I actually, before I started working here, I did it and I was 21 when I first did it. So there's 21 and there's guys into, I mean, I think the oldest guy's done is probably
into their 50s.
In their 50s, like you, yeah. I mean,
no, I think there was a guy
there'd be guys
too,
too,
probably some guys in their 60s as well.
Yeah, very, but it definitely ranges.
Yeah. So I was going to say is like we worked with we're supposed to work with 3 guys last time when we were in LA, but we did work with one guy in particular, and I was going to say I want to do a big shout out to Harold. I won't use his last name, but Harold was a really he's a tough case, but he really came through. I think he really had some personal growth, and I think he enjoyed every bit of it, because you got like all this really good personal attention when he was there. But when we were in Los Angeles and we did the Babes in Toyland event that was at the Academy, and we scheduled sort of a meetup kind of thing, for lack of a better term, around that. It was a day before, then the day of, and then we'll probably end up eventually doing something like the day after, like maybe a brunch or something before everybody takes off. So that's like sort of the format of it. But the reason why I asked you about the immersion thing is because when I've never been a part of the immersion, but I have been a speaker with Mike. Like every other time they get together and they have like 2-hour talk or something like that. It's always feedback, and that's the best part I think about the MOA immersion stuff, is because the feedback in those groups is not just me or Mike Mike monologues for the first 40 minutes, but after that, then everybody is sort of like comparing notes. And I think that's probably the best part of it, because these guys are coming from like all over the country, like
world.
Yeah. All over the world. Yeah. So as far away, the last one I was at, there was a dude there from Maine.
Oh no. Like the first one I ever did, there was a guy from Australia. He came all the way around.
Came all the way from Australia to come to Vegas to do. Yeah. Well, I think it's a lot of people see this and they'll go, well, it's Vegas. They want to go there and they want to go to Sapphire and they want to go see titties and they want to go and be in the clubs and they want to go to Zouk and they want to go to Omnia and stuff like that. And that's part of it, but it's so much more than just that.
Well, the thing is that in a place like Vegas, like what you realize about Vegas, and we obviously get it because we live here, but if you're just a newcomer and you're just going to Vegas for the first time, you don't know this, but as a tourist in Vegas, Vegas is meant to exploit the shit out of you.
Oh yeah.
Right. It's meant to like get you to spend the most money at the casino. If you win at the casino, they're going to take your earnings away and they're going to kick you out.
They'll give you comps.
Yeah. They're going to kick you out. They're meant to like get you into the nightclubs. Right. And then you're going to see in the nightclubs that the hottest girls are in the VIP, so that they're trying to make you buy money for bottle service. Then you're going to go to the strip clubs and you're going to make the girls are going to think that they like you. But the point is that Vegas is meant to exploit men specifically for as much money as possible. But the idea with immersion is that, well, that is the system, but how do you get around the system? How do you actually, not play their game? And how do you win that game, right? How do you build social proof? How do you build real status? Now, and how do you ultimately overcome? So
my next question is this: and one of the reasons why I wanted to do a 45 to 65-year-old demographic, sort of like an offshoot, a branch of MOA. By the way, Joe and I are now partnered with MOA. So, but this is what we're doing, right? Which is we're sort of catering to that 45 to 65-year-old demographic. And before anybody thinks this is like some big gigantic sales pitch or something, it's not. I just want to explain what our mentality is in doing this. I've had to deal with guys. Personally had to deal with 2 suicides. Right. So my brother-in-law and a really good close personal friend of mine in Reno, who is like an actual radio DJ, actually swallowed a bullet because I can't live without her, literally. Yep. So I've had to deal with that in the past, and I've seen it happen. And I've done shows on male self-deletion. And the prime demographic for that is 45 to 65 years old. And it's white males. Yeah. And divorce. Okay. That's it. I'm glad you said that because
zeroed out.
Because in that demographic, first of all, and I was just talking to James Sexton about this, and I want to get James in as a special speaker for some of our stuff too, because we're planning on having like guys who are like really sort of relevant about like the topics that these guys are in at that in that peer group, I guess. James Sexton would definitely be one of those guys. So, but he told me, the average age of first divorce is 45 years old. So that coincides with like right where that demographic is for male self-deletion. And guys who are in divorce, especially their first divorce, they're 8 times more likely to take their own lives. So those are the kinds of the stats that I'm like going, mulling over in my head and thinking, okay, what is it that these guys need? And when we were doing the planning for this sort of offshoot here, I'm in the process. I've got the outline done already, but I'm putting together a small book, a short, which is small for me, right? 200 pages is small for me. So I'm putting together a sort of a primer for this whole thing, for what guys can expect when they get out of a divorce. Or there's really kind of 2 kind of guys that I'm thinking of right now. It's the guys who are fresh out of divorce, like Harold was, and they have no style. They've been out of the game for like 20 some odd years, maybe even 25, right? They're probably coming out of sexless marriages. So there's an element there that you have to be very careful of, because the first girl that comes up and touches his dick, she's the one. I think I'm going to get married again. I'll try to go trouble. Start it's over again, right? Or the first, like if a guy's been in a sexless marriage for like something like 10 years, and then suddenly he's with a girl who actually wants to fuck him. That's a dangerous time for those guys, because they'll make bad decisions, bad choices at that time. And then there's the guys who have never been married, who, and I hate to even call him out, but like Jason Hartman, for example. Jason Hartman is like probably 57, 58 years old, has made a lot of money in real estate, but has never been married, wants kids. It's really just been primarily focusing on his money and focusing on his businesses, and very, very successful as a result of that. But I think he's sort of like the extreme end of like what Rich Cooper always says is, chase excellence, don't chase women, right? Well, if that's all you do, you get to a point where you're like 45, 50 some odd years old, and that's all you've been doing, and you don't have the social skills to really understand, human interaction with guys too, but like also with women.
I think Mike talks about that and made a really distinct point about this when we had our podcast, is that's obviously a great thing to do, like put your head down and make all this money and do all that stuff. But if you don't understand female nature, if you don't understand the game per se, that also makes you a target.
Yeah.
Now you're more of a target that someone can
you
take
become a
advantage
mark.
of.
Yes, you do. Pussified, thanks for the $50 super chat. You and me are still arm wrestling over Bull Rush's straight razor. Oh, which one did you want? I've got 3 of them now. I have these straight razors that are collectible straight razors that these guys do in my condition. Let me tell you something. That's an old man skill too. I ain't an old man. I know. I refuse that title just yet, but there's just some appeal about a straight razor. And I'm like, you would never have to buy another, like your Gillette razors and stuff like that. Do you guys remember when Gillette came out with that commercial that was like really kind of, it was like a 1A. It was like they had some feminist director come in and do why men need to do better kind of thing. It's Gillette, and everybody suddenly had this boycott of Gillette, or it was almost like
tanked their sales, right?
It did. They lost $8 billion as a result of that. But it was very similar to what went on with the was it Dylan Mulvaney with a Bud Light commercial? They made just a tactical marketing error, and I know because I have a marketing background, right? So I'm watching this, and nobody really made this really effort to boycott Gillette, because people just didn't. It was either was it Johnson & Johnson who owns Gillette? I can't remember, but people just stopped using their stuff, and it was during that time that I started like taking an interest in like straight razors. It's a talent, man, because you'll jack yourself up.
They don't call it cutthroat for nothing.
Yeah, they do. We'll ask Kerry King to play referee from Slayer. Ryder, keep it up, brother. Thanks. Okay, love you too, man. Did I get this one on there? Oh, that was the debate quote. Okay. Oh, good. My stars are actually coming up again. Yay. All right. So as far as the sort of offshoot, the branch, I'm just going to call it the Masters series for now, just for sake of clarity. But I saw a lot of guys, and I saw a lot of need for this because I was always asking you about the demographic sort of skew for the guys who are in the immersion. Because when I was there the last time, I think there's probably how many guys do you have in immersion? Do you limit it?
Yeah, you have to, because you can't coach. There's only so many guys you can coach. Probably like 15 to 20 guys.
Okay,
pretty small.
Okay, 15 to 20 guys is average.
Yeah,
for which guy? Because when I was there last time, I think there's out of the whole group, I think there's probably like 3 or 4 guys who are like sort of in that demographic, the 45 to 65 years old. And I also wanted to point out that one of the things that sort of led me to this was working with Robert Kiyosaki. And funny, I was just talking to Robert last night. He'll be coming out. I'm going to see if I can get him on this show he's coming out, just let's see, July 10th, 11th, and 12th. So that's
doing Access Vegas.
If I can, well, no, we were, except for now Mike's going to go see Ty Lopez on that. So we had to postpone it. But like now, I think I might actually just do a solo show with him. So if we can make it work out, we'll probably do a 2-on-1. Me and Mike will interview Robert. But Robert went from sort of being like a client, I don't say client, but he was like a counseling, consult of mine, to becoming a really very good friend of mine. So, it's like Christmas time, we're like giving each other cards and shit like that. So, I was helping him get through his divorce with Kim Kiyosaki, and we had to keep it on the down low because it was their brand image was that they're 2 smiling mugs for the Rich Dad, Poor Dad, network, right? Now everyone knows that they're. I'm not, revealing any secrets here. They've been divorced for like probably 2 years now. So, when I was working with him, I realized that there are specific things or specific issues that guys who are older have to deal with when they're getting or reintegrating themselves back into the sexual marketplace. So I was joking around, I think it was with you, and when we were first coming up with the idea for this, is there's a series on is it Amazon Prime, which is Tulsa King.
Yeah.
Have you seen Tulsa King? Yeah, with Sylvester Stallone in it. It's a fantastic show. If you haven't seen it, you should. And it's very humorous because I don't think I'm giving too much away. I'll spoiler alert here. But Sylvester Stallone plays an ex-con. He was in the mob, and he took a fall. Like he went and said he did the crime, right? And so he spent 25 years in prison. And he's coming out of prison, and he's like 76, 77 years old when he comes out, right? Which, of course, is exactly how old Sylvester Stallone is, right? So he's basically playing himself. And all the things and all the social changes that have happened in the last 25 years. And it was really interesting because to me, it was like almost like a social commentary, because it's almost like, look what we had or look where we were before 25 years ago, and look what we're doing right now. So, part of the humor is he's reintegrating himself as an ex-con, right? Getting back into society. And the mob, of course, gives him a territory, which is in Tulsa, Oklahoma, because they want to keep him out of like New York, because they're afraid he'll take over, right? So the first thing he does is he goes to a marijuana dispensary and he thinks it's like a drug den or something. Like he thinks they're like selling illegal drugs out of this place, out of the back of the store. And like, no, this is a dispensary. This is like, it's legal. You don't have to like strong arm us or anything like that. And that's where the humor is like, he's like this guy who's stuck 25 years ago and he's in the present day. And I kind of see similarities between that for guys who, like, say they got married 25 years ago and now they're sort of being released back into society, and like they need somebody to help them like reintegrate themselves back into the sexual marketplace. Both of you guys have experienced this firsthand. Correct. So I was just wondering if you want to give a little bit of your as much as you're comfortable with, like your personal, your background, like what was it that made you want to get into read my book or get into MOA?
So my situation was with the divorce, I was isolating a lot and staying at home and really not getting back out there. And I came to a point where it's like, I'm not going to do this anymore. I have to get out. I have to be social. I have to build a social life again outside of what was going on within the family life. And so Michael's program was like a perfect fit for that, to really go out and integrate.
Did you just find it online? Were you specifically looking for it, or did it come
I was
up in your
looking
feed?
for something like that. So probably, yeah, I don't remember exactly how I came across it, but I was looking for a program to help me build a better social life.
How long were you married?
18 years.
18 years?
Yeah.
Did you have a dead bedroom towards the end of it, or no?
No.
But what was it that like sort of broke you guys up?
We probably shouldn't have been married in the first place, and we weren't capable of handling each other's issues. Basically, to say that.
Would you get married again?
Probably.
You would,
if I found a great woman. Yeah. Yeah.
I already know yours, but I'm gonna let you cook. I'm gonna let you cook. Go ahead.
my oldest son moved back to. I was married in. We met in 1990 in Cyprus. I was at the embassy, and my ex-wife was with the Australian Federal Police.
You were a pilot at this time?
No, I was enlisted, and I used my GI Bill when I got out, and she supported me doing that, which was really awesome. We moved. I finished up. We got married in '93, and but we went through. We have 3 great kids, 3 wonderful children, and my oldest son moved back. He went into the Marines, and he got out after doing 4 years after COVID, or at the beginning of COVID. And he came home, and he's kind of red-pilled already. So he was like, Dad, you should really read Rational Male. And I'm like, okay, because
he got you into Rollo?
Yeah.
Wow.
Really, I was kind of what, Rich Cooper calls, concession, 10,000 concessions, beta-tized by 10,000 concessions. So I read the book, and I think if you're in the right place mentally and probably spiritually a little bit, and you read Rational Male, it kind of helps you understand that you've done things wrong. You did things that you shouldn't have done, things that you did that you should have done better, and things that you didn't do that you should have done. But it gets you to accept the fact that you've made these mistakes, and you realize that, wow, if this is not, we are better together than we are apart. But if you're not in a good relationship, it's better to be alone, and it's okay. And that's why your book was so successful with me, because it was like the thought of self-deletion. After you read the book, it's like, it's just, you can't
do it. Yeah.
You can't do it. And so then we separated not long after that, and we were separated at January of 23, and we only finished up with the final divorce this last April. So I was actually in immersion, and I was still
technically, yeah. Okay.
But we were separated for a long time prior to that. And I'm still, my ex is a good woman. She's a great woman. Love her. And I wish the best for her. And, we're just both living our best lives. It was very amicable. And I read the rest of your books, started getting into a lot of the red pill stuff, read a lot of Ryan Stone's work and Rich Cooper. And after I read the playbook, Player's Playbook, the opportunity for my company to come to Vegas came up. So I'm like, oh, I'm taking that. Yeah, I'm going to go where the fish are. And then I met you, and that's how I ended up getting here. But
did you have a period where you were isolating, like Joe?
I think not terribly so, because there just wasn't time. When we separated, we had to, because it was amicable, we were selling off. We had a massive farm. We had an 8-acre farm with nearly 40 head of cattle in Australia. We're trying to sell everything off and divide everything up. And then I was reaching out because what happened was, when I was a captain for China Southern Airlines, flying 787s out of China during the prior to the COVID. And when they just sent us all home back in 2020, I had opportunities to come back to the US and start flying again, but it was not commutable. I wasn't going to be able to live in Australia and work outside Australia anymore. So I had to come back. And, she didn't want to come along, and that's fine. I get that. She's got a great career in Australia, and all of her family is there. So that's how I ended up coming here to be
where the fish are.
Yeah, I ended up coming to Vegas.
We're going to talk about where the fish are here in just a minute, and how the fish are how they're biting.
Yes.
In just a minute.
Well, actually, if I could say something on that, obviously I've never been through a divorce, but being part of MOA, obviously I do a lot of their calls and stuff like that. Their initial consultations is something I'm responsible for a lot of them. So, you know, I hear everything, like the craziest stories about like guys, like I've heard your guys' stories. I know what you guys been through, but like you are on the group calls and stuff like that. We hear the craziest things that guys go through, you know, with their divorce, like them taking the kids, like these guys like have attempted suicide multiple times. So it's great that you guys are doing this because, you know, compared to like the things we hear on those group calls, this is pretty tame.
Well,
and we hear the worst of the worst stories, you know, like kids being, you know, taken away. Obviously the courts favor the woman. So they lose half of their shit,
all of
you know?
my kids were adults already, so there really wasn't much there. And I just stayed busy. I kept myself busy. I would say I was kind of isolated. I wasn't trying to be in relationships or meet anybody, but because of work, when I reached out and we were going to be separated pending divorce, I reached out to a couple of my friends, and a guy that hired me back in 1993, he's like, "Oh, come to work for me now." I'm like, "Work where?" And I had to look it up, and I'm like, "Okay, I'll come back." And I was just busy hopping around, trying to get back into flying and becoming a captain for my airline, and then becoming an instructor. I had to move to 2 or 3 different bases over that time frame, which was all fine. And so yeah. But then when I met you in January at Access Vegas, I'd start watching. I was aware of Mike's of Men of Action. So when I was there after I met you and you guys went in, I was in the green room and gave Jordan Knope like his greatest, easiest sale ever.
Shout out Jordan.
Because it's like, "Hey, well, you should join us." I'm like, "No, I am." He's like, "No, you're on the free side. You need to join the group." I'm like, "Oh, all right." And then that was in January, and 2 months later, March, I was in the Immersion. And I think the most important thing about Immersion for someone like myself was you don't know what you don't know until someone points it out.
Right. Oh man, I'm glad you brought that up.
And the coaches are outstanding at Immersion. Arthur and Curtis, Jake, Alfonso, Johnny. Can't forget Johnny. Right. So, and they really help you improve how you communicate and give you a strategy to be able to do that. And
I'm glad you brought that up because
what were like some of the biggest like I guess wins or takeaways you got from actually doing Immersion?
For me, for Immersion, it was so soon after, right? With me, it's like I almost kind of went in as a blank slate. It's like I don't know what I need to get out of this or what I'm going to get out of it, but I know I need to do it. I know I need to do it. Because as Mike says, it's Men of Action. We are men of action. We're not just going to sit around and keep watching YouTube videos and read books. We're going to have to go out and apply it.
Yeah. If I can interject. Yeah. For me, it was everybody there is a connection, right?
True. Yeah.
Right. And they can contribute to my life.
That's how you and I met.
I contribute to their life. Right. And so that's one of the things that great about the Immersion. It's not, hey, we're just going to go talk to girls. We're going to go talk to everybody.
Yeah.
And we're gonna learn how to integrate with everybody, right? So that's what I really liked about it myself.
Yeah,
I learned there.
And I think so. I found out because it's like when you come off a divorce, it's like, well, and Dr. Glover talks about this. It's like, what do you know, what's a good woman for you? You know, what are you looking for, and what aren't you looking for? And you're like, I don't know. And going to Immersion helps me figure out who I'm really interested in. And it helped me also figure out what I really want to do with my life.
And you're interested in a lot of them.
Well, I bet it goes back to what you were. It goes back to what you were saying too, Rollo. Is that I'm going to go talk to a lot of women.
Yeah.
So I get more experience around a lot of women. So now I can refine what I do want versus what I don't want.
Because I've been out, you and I have gone to lunch at a certain restaurant that we know, and there's a certain waitress that's there all the time, and it's like game on as soon as you sit down. I'm like, where did this motherfucker come from? Because he's so mild mannered and everything. He sits down, and the hot waitress comes over like,
well, and I think that's Immersion gets you to practice how to break and rapport. How to be interesting. Right?
Oh yeah. I know she knows your name now too. Whenever we go there, so she will remember you.
But I think the biggest takeaway that I didn't realize was the camaraderie with everyone else that was in Immersion. You get, because you're with a group of men that are all fairly like-minded, and knowing that they're above average because they're in the right mindset, but they know they're not as good as they can be. And they want to try to be better. And the networking and the camaraderie with all the guys that I had in my class, we're still in touch. We still talk all the time. Even some of the social media boot camps, you meet guys. and you stay in touch with all of them. And it's just great. It's like you're talking about, if you want to soar with the Eagles, you got to soar with the Eagles.
Sure.
And that's what that kind of exposure does for you.
Yeah. And something I think is really key is that I think, not to call anyone out who's watching this, but I think you would agree with this role. It's like there's a lot of people who just watch your stuff. They read the Rational Male, they read the Player's Handbook, but they don't take any action on it. It's like they know all this theory, they know all this like, the praxeology. They don't actually use it to make their lives better. But the great thing about, immersion is that like you go into the nightclub, right?
Yeah.
And I think the nightclub is the best representation of the Rational Male because like you don't like just know what hypergamy is. You just don't know what status is, but you go into Zook and then you
now you do.
Now you see it.
Welcome to Darwinism.
Irrefutable visual evidence.
Yeah, we talk about it. It's like I think the best degree in evolutionary psychology is Excess Nightclub, right?
Yeah.
It's because you go in there and you see the hypergamy, you see the status, you see the differences between guys, you see, the monkey branching. And the great thing is that if you get to see it in a place like that, you get to then get exposed to it, and then you get to learn how to work around it.
Yeah,
for sure. That's the biggest thing.
It's social Darwinism at its best, right? Yeah. Going out. And that, so like one of the things that, one of the aspects I should say of me wanting to work with this demographic of guys right now is because I really think it's underserved. I agree. When people start talking about like the red pill, or they start talking about pickup, or they start talking game, or even like money, muscles, and game. What do we call it? We call it health, wealth, and relationships. And the reason we called it relationships is because a lot of these guys, it's not just about you using game and learning intersexual dynamics. It's also so like you can actually network with other guys, because what happens is I've seen this mostly in like the latter half of the millennials and pretty much all of the Zoomers right now is like they have very low social skills. Because it's necessary for you to be out there to learn from imitated behavior, like or see somebody do this and then you pick up on that. We're social animals. We learn from other people. Okay. But now we are isolating. So I was asking about isolation. We're isolating so much behind computer monitors and tablets and screens and stuff like that, that I think a lot of the social skills that we see in the most recent generations is really due to the fact that they're just simply not doing it. They're just simply not out there. And to push somebody out of their comfort zone and say, hey, let's go out there. Let's go to the Zook. Let's go to these places. It's really uncomfortable for them to do that. But if you can get to the point where, like, I'm just going to point out Harold one more time, and you guys both work with Harold, and thank you for doing that, by the way. I learned quite a bit about what we ought to be doing in this program just from one guy.
Yep.
And I don't say he's an extreme case. I think he's hopeful, but like he just needs to be out.
Yeah.
He just needed to be out in a social situation. He needed to be out at Babes in Toyland so he can actually be around women. So he can actually, is he going home with a fucking supermodel? No, of course not. But like he's out there and he is practicing and exercising those social skills that have atrophied over the last like 20, 25 years because he's been in this.
Is this an MOA guy you're talking about?
Well, he will be. If he's not that, he is now. So,
what I was impressed with,
notice went out.
Yeah.
I was impressed. We had the table and it was like, hey, Harold, go grab a couple of girls and bring them back to the table, and he did.
Yeah.
Yep.
And he did it like 4 times, right?
Yeah. And
it's awesome.
If you were familiar with Harold, that's probably pretty uncomfortable for him to do that, but he did it. Yeah, he actually did. And so when we were working with him, I have to keep it in those 3, like the health, wealth, and relationships. Like he's got the wealth down, okay, because we all know what he does for a living, right? But his physique, he's in pretty good, very good shape for his age. It's just the relationships part, the networking, the social skills have atrophied, and so therefore he doesn't realize he's doing certain things. Like he has the duck walk, right?
Right.
Like. Dude, I'm like, why are you doing that? I thought he was doing it to be funny. I thought he was doing it to be funny. I'm like, no, he actually does it because he simply doesn't know what he's doing. And so for us, we have to say, dude, you realize what you're doing here, right? And that woke me up to the fact that we need to also help these guys with style. Like you guys took them to go get a fitted suit or something. Where'd you guys go in Santa Monica?
We went to State and Liberty out in West Hollywood.
And you got him
we tried
clothes.
And then we went to Hollywood and got him that pair of shoes and got him a nice pair of Chelsea's because from Australia, I'm a bit biased.
Yeah. And I want people to understand, if you're watching this, it's like that might be part of the we're kind of like, it was proof of concept when we were doing this. We're just trying to figure out what it is that we want to do. Styles definitely have to be a part of that, I think, especially for guys who have been married for 20 some odd years, and they're just coming out of that, and they don't know style, they don't know anything like that. They're gonna wear cargo shorts. Right?
Yeah.
What is wrong with cargo shorts? I just don't understand why that's not cool. But you guys took him out and really helped him out, because you guys took him out, and then I met you guys at Babes in Toyland. I'm like, who the hell is this guy? And like you guys got him set up. Most men, especially married guys, have never had a fitted suit. Is it the first time he had a fitted suit? Did you mention that?
Yeah, I think he had one item prior. Yeah. That might have been it.
Yeah. So again, part of the reintegration kind of thing. But he doesn't know that he needs to sort of work on his style. His physique wise, the guys in the gym, he's got abs, man. I mean, the guy's like, he's pretty yoked. He's like 57, 58, something like that. Yeah. And still in pretty good shape for his age. But then it's the mild mannerness. He talks like this, and he's like, it's like, use your outdoor voice, motherfucker, please.
Well, that was tied to his posture as well.
Yeah, exactly.
So like,
and so I think that comes from not using those skills, like not really even having any occasion to do so. So like when guys are like wondering, like, why did my marriage fail? I'm like, well, get out of it and get into, then reinsert yourself back into the sexual marketplace. And it's a hard lesson to learn. It's the hard way, but like you will understand why things didn't work out like in your previous marriage. Once you get out of that and you have people sort of like pointing out you have duck walk, right? Or, you need to walk with your don't walk like this.
So I was showing him, I was like, Joe was in front of us, and I'm like, look, walk like Joe,
Yeah.
And it's like, well, guys, you need to work on your posture and how you walk, and think about those things and try to fix it. If you can't, just go join the Marine Corps and do boot camp for 90 days. You'll come out of there and you'll know. That's one way to do it.
Exactly. Well, I used to do endorsements and affiliate stuff with John from Modern Life Dating, and I think one of his better programs was body language mastery. And when I first started, I didn't endorse him on the first one. I endorsed him on the second one. I'm like, do I really want to make sure I'm auditing the class and make sure it's not bullshit, because I'm careful what I put my name on. And so I endorsed on the second one, because when I saw the first one, I was like, how do these guys don't know this? Like, to me, it seems like a no-brainer. Like it's obvious that when a woman is interested in you, when she's not, how you should walk, how you should talk, put your chest out, that kind of stuff. And just simple like body language that women pick up on, or sub-communications that women pick up on. And for a lot of people who like are critics of that kind of thing, like, oh, you're selling a program for that. Everybody knows that. Why would you sell something that's obvious? Because it's not obvious.
No, it's not
they
obvious.
Don't know this stuff. And I was like, yeah, there is actually a need for this. And so when we were working with Heroines, we're looking at style, I'm looking at physique, I'm looking at what I call, tribe building. Like what group of guys do you want to hang out with so that you can have that communication? And that's what my next point was. For what we're doing, I don't want to just do, sit in a room in a classroom setting and ramble on and do monologuing and sort of like, professor and student kind of thing. I want us to be out there doing shit. So going out to a studio, go get a fitted suit. If people want to go deep sea fishing, if that's your thing. I am of the opinion that guys have better communications when they're all doing something that they have a shared interest in, because men evolved to be problem solvers. We're deductive problem solvers, but we're cooperative in our problem solving. So if you look at, like, say, Dr. Steven Pinker, like, women are more interested in people and men are more interested in things. So like I was saying before, some of the best conversations I've ever had with my younger brother has been over, an engine, like fixing a Holley 4-barrel carburetor, right? Like looking at, and so we're sitting there and just bullshitting while we're working on something, because have some sort of project that we have that we want to focus on. So I want to take that and put that into this program. So if we want to go to the gun range, if we want to go fishing, if we want to drive a tank here, I want to drive a tank in Las Vegas. There's a place you could do that. You want to go shoot like automatic weapons, you can do that here too. Or there's the driving experience. What's the one that's down towards like the south end of Speedway? And like you can either use their car, which is like a really fast Porsche, or they might even have a McLaren down there now.
Yep.
Or you can drive your own car on the track. Yeah, I could do that.
I went to the drag races on Friday.
Oh, you did?
Up at the Speedway, and people were bringing their own cars.
Yeah. So I'm not trying to find like some sort of stupid stereotypical macho shit. I'm just saying like there's certain things that like guys like to do. There, you put them in an environment where they feel like they're part of a tribe, and that's when that's when the real learning happens. It's not like so much of a like I said, a professorial, student classroom kind of thing, which is, I think people can still get a lot of benefit out of. But I want to make sure that we're doing something that people really dig on. So we're looking at like doing events and doing things that where the communication will happen, but over a project or something that we're putting together. And I don't care if it's, shooting, driving a tank or playing chess. I don't care, whatever it is, as long as there's something that like people can sort of like come together over, because I think that's where the communication happens. And Mike and I have said this before, is like a lot of women want to say that guys need therapy. Oh, it's sexy when guys go get therapy. No, that's not how it works. Like the therapy that works for women, the communication and all that stuff, women communicate in a much different fashion than men do. And I think we need to really sort of take that into account when we're doing this whole program.
Therapy for us is hanging out with other like-minded men and talking about things.
Yeah,
that's our thing.
Exactly. And
the hot girls don't hurt, but yeah. Hot girls don't hurt, but yeah.
Well, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well, that I think that
icing
comes
on the cake.
That comes with the territory. So that's why
Yeah.
we're looking for like social, like the bar and grill that we were talking about earlier. Like there's women there quite a bit. So, and it's not like Zook, right? It's like I know that the younger crowd likes to go to those. They like to go to Sapphire, like see titties.
Yeah.
And I like to see titties too. But the thing is like for instance, like I like Jason Hartman is only going to stick around for so long, and he's going to go back because he can't like hear himself think over the music that's there. And it's fun when you're jumping around and you're tossing them back and catching a buzz. But the thing that I was talking with Joe about is that it would be great to be able to have, or to put these guys into a situation where they can still have conversations.
Yeah.
Like when we was it you said go get two girls? You told Harold to go get like two girls or something, drag them back to the thing.
Yeah.
He's
He didn't drag
you
him
remember
back.
this part
He convinced
when
him to come
we
back.
were there, and I saw him up at the table, and he had one girl. I was like, holy shit, Harold's got a girl.
Rollo was so proud.
I was like, and then we were going.
When was this?
It was at Bays and Toyland.
The last one.
Bays and Toyland.
Yeah.
Okay. And so I was gonna go up and talk to him or something like. He's like, no, let him cook.
Yeah, let him cook.
Because that's what he's there for, right? I'm like, okay, I'm gonna leave him alone and let him do his thing, right? And I'm glad I did now. But yeah, I think that just the ability to be out there and sort of like put yourself out.
Well, that's it. So we're like,
you come out of your comfort zone.
The idea is to find out, hey, so there are a couple of things. One, men work all day, come home. They don't necessarily know how or where to go to be in a social scene or social circle. So that's one of the things we're going to help with. The other thing is finding out what you do like to do, and us finding places for you to go do what you like to do and be in a social setting.
Yeah, I think other people need to know that we're not just going to do this in Los Angeles and Vegas. We're going to do this all over the place.
Yeah, wherever you are. So that's one of the good things about the immersion is they show you how to take the skills you learned here to take back into your own community and build your own social circle wherever you are.
That's great. I think it's really important to emphasize, like, it's not about Zook, or it's not about just like
just the occasions, the events.
It's just the fact that like, if you could do it in Zook or whatever club it is, right? You could do it in Zook.
You could do it back in Maine.
You could do it back in fucking Maine. You could do it back in whatever town you're in. The point is like to just do it to the highest level of stimulus. Like if you could bench 300 pounds, you could bench 200 pounds. That's the point.
That's right. Yeah, that's the
How
thing.
much can you bench?
Oh man,
we were just talking about this just a minute ago. Yeah,
fun at
I know we were.
down there.
That was, by the way, that was a flex.
It's a work in progress. It's a work in progress.
Yes.
Literally.
What do you think? What do you think some of the most common problems these guys of this demographic actually deal with?
Well, first of all, having been in a divorce, if it was a contentious divorce, there's probably some parental alienation. There is you being ripped away from the community that you've been building over the last 10 or 15 years. And now as a man, you're out on your own, having to handle stuff. So, and a lot of families are geared around the activities of their children, right?
True.
So then your friendship base is people that are the parents of the kids that play sports with your kids. And when you get ripped apart, it's been my experience that most men don't continue to hang with those circles, right? Because mom's still taking them to the games and things like that. So
and women have much broader social networks than guys do.
Right.
I've encountered guys who have gone through divorces and they're like religious guys, and they would think they would be able to fall back on like sort of their church groups and stuff. Not non-existent.
Really?
Yeah, non-existent.
Yeah.
Because they always take the woman's side. Because if the woman,
Absolutely.
if the woman is divorcing the guy, and remember, it's like 70-75% of the time she's the one doing the divorcing. He must have had a problem with porn. There must have been something going on. It must have been his fault, right? If you get divorced, it's a man, or if he cheats, it's his fault. If she cheats, it's still his fault.
That's all of the above. Yeah.
What do you think is one of the most common things?
I think that's the thing is it's so tough to go through, and you have a lot of ego investment in the relationship. You're trying to get out of. You're trying to separate yourself. If you had one-itis issues, those are huge problems for guys coming out of a relationship, and understanding and appreciating your own value, and understanding that you do have value, and that and to then start saying, I need to work on myself. I'm always a work in progress. I'm going to become the best and most interesting version of myself. Some of the things I did, I bought a motorcycle.
Yeah.
I took up golf. I did a lot of things that challenged me physically and mentally to be a better person, and then try to help other guys that are going on that same journey that I'm already on. And so I think that's a real struggle is, okay, you didn't self-delete, which is great. So now let's start building.
What?
Now let's start building. Let's get a focus. Because in a relationship, we've talked about it. You've talked about it a ton of times. You have kids, she pulls you away from your social circle that you already had before you met her. That, all your friends, you fall out of connection with guys that you would hang out on a weekly basis. And it gets to be maybe once a month, then once a year. You need to go back and reestablish all that or create new ones. And I think that's the biggest thing that guys need to do is, like I said, when I came to Immersion, what did I want? I don't know what I wanted out of it. I just knew I needed to do it.
Yeah.
I'll figure it out as I go. Right. And I think that guys trying to find a path, trying to find a focus.
Yeah.
And start improving themselves.
James, I actually have a question for you.
Sure.
Shout out to Jordan because you got the easiest sale of your life. But what made you just join like off the whim like that?
Well, we were talking about it, and Jordan was explaining to me how the immersion worked, and I'd listened to Mike talk about it on Access Vegas with Rolo, and it's like we're going to get out there and we're actually going to do this stuff. And I'm like, man, yeah, because what had I been doing up until that point? I've been watching videos. I've been reading all of Rolo's books. I've been reading books and books and books and books, and thinking, okay, I could do this. That's what guys will do. I could do that. Well, no, man. When you walk up cold to somebody and you say hello, it's like, what are you going to do next?
Yeah.
So that and what you said is 100% true, and Joe said it as well. It's like we talk a lot about Vegas and we talk a lot about LA, but what you learn there, this is the majors.
Yeah.
You play in the majors. You can go back and play Little League anywhere else in the country. And it's become that connector, become the person that knows where are all the best places to go. What are the best things to do and most interesting things to do where you live?
Yeah.
And I think that's what we try to strive to get guys to do.
Do you think you're better at that now? Like, well, I would say cold approach, but like introducing yourself and actually having a conversation. I'm going to put you on the spot, but let me ask you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because I think that, the immersion.
I already know the answer, but
the immersion gives you what we call reps. You're getting out there and you're trying. When we were talking about the babes in LA afterwards, and you were asking me questions, and I'm trying to remember what you're talking about.
Let me set that one up for you real quick, because the people on my Patreon were not my people in my main audience. So if you're part of my Patreon group, this is already old hat for you, but we were at Babes in Toyland, and we were back by the photo area where Mike does all the interviews and stuff. Yeah,
the red carpet.
Yeah, the red carpet part. And we're back there with this what's the guy's name? Oh, Scott, the guy with the big. He looks like Justin Waller, by the way. Scott looks a lot like Justin. Yep. But you were back there, and there's two chicks that came up, and Scott pulled one off, and you got the other one.
Yeah.
And how old do you think the one was a brunette? You got the brunette, he got the blonde.
Yeah, one was in her 20s, and the other one was in her early 30s.
Was that the one you were talking to?
Yeah.
And there was a point where Or something like you were, because you always are very well dressed when you go out to these. He was at the white party in a full three-piece suit, three-piece suit, and with the Merovingian knot on his. I was like, "Fuck, dude! I know who you. I know who you were looking." So I subscribe.
You
to
can
that
go
guy
into
too.
you can go to instead to my highlights. You'll see the whole reel.
Yes, I mean he looked like the engineer, or was it the architect from the
That's
Matrix
right. Yeah,
that's
good.
And
that's good.
And so he's there. He's very well dressed, and these two girls come up, and then Scott starts chatting up the blonde, and then the other one actually came up to you. I think she almost like opened you, and she said something to the effect like, that's a very expensive suit or something.
Yeah, that
like
looks
that.
expensive.
That looks expensive, and then you're like, that's because I am expensive. And like with no pause in between there, and I'm like, damn, that was fucking smooth.
But then I went right back at her and I said, "Are you expensive?"
Yeah, exactly.
She was like, "What?"
And that was funny because I used that as an example of sort of that back and forth, right? In the player's handbook, I call that fencing, right? It's like it's verbal fencing. It's like thrust, parry, repost, reestablish that kind of stuff. I have a fencing background. But it was like perfect because it's like, that's a very expensive suit. I'm very expensive. Are you very expensive? So bam, 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 right? And I was like, God damn, I wish I had all. I wish I had a camera. God damn it!
I didn't even know you were watching.
I was watching. Oh, I see, and that's funny. I'm glad you brought that up too, because like people always say, "Well, Rolo doesn't know any of this shit. He's been married for so long. He's been out of the game for so long." I'm like, yeah, but I go to. You guys don't understand how unique my position is, because I've been in wine and spirits for some 20 some odd years, and now I'm doing this, right? So when I go to events like that, I don't drink. So I'm there. I'm taking mental notes the whole time I'm there. That's why I remember that, because that's something I'll remember. Harold pulling that one girl up to the table and stuff, which is awesome. Incredible. It's like seeing a unicorn. You know?
Bro, actually, I want to say something on that, because I've heard that comment so many times, and Mike and I on our podcast talked about it. I'm like, guys, for people watching, like, Rolo goes to all of our events, hosts this panel podcast. You're around more beautiful women than 99% of guys. Yeah, like you're around more beautiful women than 99% of the guys who are talking about this advice. Whether you're married or not, it's irrelevant. As a matter of fact, I think the fact that you've been married for so long successfully isn't a testament to that. Yeah. So, sorry, just
coming up on 28 years. Well, you know, I'll tell you, there was a time. Well, as I said, the manosphere and the red pill goes in cycles, right? So. Right around 2019, 2020, 2021 in there, like people were giving me and Ryan Stone and all these guys who are like either de facto married or have been married for a very long time and saying, well, you don't have any receipts. What are you talking about, man? Fuck you. Like that, as if that's like some accreditation of whether or not you ought to be giving advice or you ought to be. And I don't give advice. I just give analysis basically. But so it used to be that if you were married, that was a mark against you, right? Now, if you're married, especially in an election cycle where like moralism is a big deal, and they want, the reason why I don't get on Daily Wire is because I'm married.
You think so?
Because they want an angle of attack.
Yeah.
If I had been divorced, or if I've never been married, or like, for instance, they'll go after Pearl all the time because Pearl's giving advice for like motherhood and have kids, you know, how to have kids. You need more. We need to make more babies because of the fertility crisis and all this other stuff, or how to have a good stable marriage and stuff. She's never married. She's talking out of her ass. She has no like experience, like lived experience about any of the stuff that she talks about. They can go after that because she sounds like a hypocrite, right? Because it sounds like, well, you don't know what you're talking about because you've never had kids. You don't know what it's like to be a parent. You don't know what it's like to be a wife, whatever. I do. And I'm still waiting on my fucking call. Matt Walsh, you know, still waiting on that call. And it's never going to happen because they don't have an angle of attack. No. There's nothing salacious about me. Like I am what I am, and I say what I say, and that's it.
Wait,
so.
but I feel like, doesn't the Daily Wire promote like marriage and like family and stuff like that?
You would think,
so wouldn't that
be
more of a reason?
I'm boring to them.
Yeah, that's a good point.
The thing is I've been married longer than probably anybody that any of the hosts that are on, well, with the exception of Andrew Clavin, maybe, because I know how old he is. But although maybe I think he's been divorced at least twice, right? Andrew Clavin.
I wouldn't know. Yeah,
anyways,
maybe.
But as far as that's concerned, like when people like I'll see this all the time on on Twitter. From really super moralist, I mean, the big accounts, right? And they'll say like, well, you know, these red pill guys know what they're talking about. They're all damaged goods, and they never talk about family. And I bet all of them, you know, show me one example of these guys in the red pill who has a successful marriage and a healthy relationship. I'm like,
Yeah.
Hello.
Fuck that guy. Moving on.
Outlier.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, I wrote The Rational Male. I've been married for coming up on 28 years. I have a child who's actually married as well too. Like, can we talk here? No, they don't want to have that. They don't want to have that conversation. So, but I find that like that really kind of like the height of hypocrisy, because like it used to be like, Rollo can't be red pill because he's married, and he can't be married because he's actually red pill. I can't win either way, so I'm just going to do what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
Let me get to some of these here.
Sure. We got some shots.
I got a few. HMU to collab on this new post-divorce book. HMU?
Hit me up.
Hit me
He's
up.
saying
Okay.
for you to hit him up.
Okay. When somebody says when you use acronyms, I think it's like you're referring to like MTR, or you're referring to like subpersonality. Sorry.
I know there's some military
went
acronym
through-
for HMU.
Yeah. went through divorce and started over twice. Life just keeps getting better and better if you have the right mindset and willing to evolve. Thanks for that.
Correct. Absolutely correct.
And then I got Carl Bennington. Social circle game is limited. I love having options and the ability to replace a girl quickly. Do you think that that's a valid criticism?
Wait.
Social circle game is limited. Do you think it's just
social circle game is limited? I love having. Yeah, that's the point of social circle.
That's the
game.
whole point.
The whole point of social circle game is to have more options, right?
Right.
It's like, I mean, we're very like much on analysis here. Like I see like pickup or something like that is very kind of like, it's always like from 0 to 1. You always have to start over again. Versus if you build a soul circle and you have a foundation, you can always have more options because it's just a lot more scalable. You just have exponential growth from here. So agreed.
Yeah.
I love having options.
Social
circle is the best way to have options.
Your social circle limit's only based upon the size of the scalability of your social circle. The bigger your social circle is, the greater that you have.
Yeah.
And that's why, but like cold approach is important, but you can't just only do that, right? That's why the motto of Immersions, right? It's cold approach to build a social circle. That's why
I think people get kind of tunnel vision when it comes to sort of like, it's almost like in pickup artists, like there's certain variations of it are like martial arts,
Yeah.
Like there's only, like, for instance, like Alan Roger Curry's direct game mode 1. And so there's only direct game, and anything else is a waste of your freaking time. Right. I'm like, and I wrote about that in the player's handbook, because I made the distinction. I didn't even make a distinction. I described and defined what they are, because a lot of people are just simply confused about like what indirect game is versus what direct game is. And you have to remember that direct game it came out of indirect game.
Yeah.
From the guys back in
Mystery Method.
Yeah, from Mystery Method. And a lot of people don't realize that. They think it just like, morphed into existence during mode 1. And it's like, no, it came from the pickup artist community, because these guys have kept going through these motions and going through the routines. And they're like, you know what, this is kind of a waste of time, because if I'm with this kind of girl, I'm not going to go through all these different steps, because I know that all I got to do is say, hey, are you DTF? And then they get to it. But you have to go through indirect game, and you have to learn those skills before you can actually perfect direct game and know if it's going to be effective on a particular girl and if it wasn't. So one of the things that I wrote about in the book is that there's instances, or there's girls that you would necessarily lose had you used direct game that you would have got if you had used indirect game, and vice versa. Right. So
with direct game, it's like
read it.
that did not make the girl interested in you. She was already interested in you.
Yeah.
You just opened up the door.
Yeah. The sale was already there.
The sale was already there.
Yeah. All you had to do is not fuck it up.
Exactly.
Yeah. So that's one branch, right? Then there's like cold approach, then there's yad stops, then there's day game, then there's night game, then there's this game, and everything. And everybody has, it's like MMA, it's like, oh, there's Brazilian jiu-jitsu, there's Kali, there's this, they're all whatever, and everybody seems to think that they're one. That's why I never ever talk about martial arts on this show, because as soon as I say I practice Kali, then they're like, hey man, Aikido's a way better martial art than, oh, you don't know anything about Hoist Gracie, Brazilian jiu-jitsu or something. I don't want to know whether or not Superman can beat up Tarzan. Okay. I just tell you what works for me. Right. And I think that that's probably a better approach for game, or a mixed approach. Why can't we just have mixed martial arts version of like pickup, right? Whatever works for you, you're going to use in that particular situation.
You got to kind of be a bit of a jack of all trades when it comes to it. Like, you're going to learn how to approach. If you see a woman that's not inside your social circle and she's giving you indicators of interest, you've got to go approach.
Sure.
And you have to have a strategy. You have to have a set of logistical questions that you're going to be prepared to ask to start up a conversation.
Right.
And that's how you started, and you learn how to do that.
That's like that girl that came, the one we were just talking about. Like when she basically opened you, Like, but you look this is a very expensive suit. And it was back like, you didn't open her. She opened you. There has to be sort of a branch of game that prepares you for that instance, right?
Yep.
And so by like if you were using like direct game, like, hey, that's a very expensive suit. Yeah, it is. Are you down to fuck? I don't know if that would have worked out quite so well, right?
Yeah. And also like the environment matters so much, right? Like where that environment, like the environment is set up for
situational awareness.
Exactly. Like in a place like that where it's charity, it's very low stakes. Like the environment is set up for genuine desire to happen.
Sure.
Right. Yep. So it's not just about like that interaction. It's about everything that came along that. One, you preparing like what you were going to wear. Number one, two, the context of the event, and then three, where it allowed for that to happen. If you just did like some direct game pickup shit, it probably would have ruined it. You know?
Okay, so that's social circle. I think social circle game, like I know Mike has had to defend social circle game versus direct approach. It was not a few months back that he was doing some sort of
I was on the debate. I was on the debate with him.
Yeah. And I honestly, I think that it's your pickup artist skills should be like a Swiss Army knife. Like you should have the right tool for the right job whenever you're ready to do
and
it.
That takes practice.
And that takes practice, right? You got to be
reps
and
reps.
do it.
The beauty of the social circle game is it gives you a pool of people to talk to with and interact with throughout the years, so to speak. And
do you think
I look at it like sales, right? It's like if you're a really great salesperson, like, and you're really good at cold calling, you're really good at dialing the phone, right? That's a really good skill to have. But you still need to develop that skill. Now it's like, are you talking to cold leads? But now you're just talking to warmer leads and your conversion rate's going to be higher, but you still need the skills to be a great salesperson. You're just doing it in a better environment where you're going to get more success.
And then you'll have referrals, right?
And then you will have referrals and then affiliates. And then,
exactly.
Even then, like I said,
and then
even
subscribers.
If she's outside your social circle and you meet her, your social circle is going to create social validation for you. Once she comes in or she looks at your Instagram, she'll be like, oh, this guy's the real deal.
I'm going to read this next one. And then I got a question for Joe here real quick. Throwing parties makes you serviceable. And if you're alpha, it makes women jealous. It will create a shitstorm. I've experienced it before. Dread. Now my question for Joe is this: since we're working with guys in the 45 to 65, and by the way, if you're older than 65, it's okay. You can actually be part of the.
Come on in. Yeah, there's no cutoff.
Robert Kiyosaki, you're welcome to join.
Come on in,
because he's 77. But do you think that guys in that demographic are better off in social circle than it would be to, like, it would be a really difficult thing, I think, to teach cold approach to a guy like Harold?
Well, cold approach is just talking to people.
Right.
That's all it is. Right. And so the idea is just to be able to go up and have a conversation with someone. And then where it goes from there, it's where it goes from there. The cold approach is just having a conversation.
See, I think the reason why Harold did so well was because, well, first of all, he had us right there. We're kind of like the safety net, right? If something happens, he can come up and talk to us and say, well, how did I fuck that up? Or how did I do good, right? So there's that aspect, but he's also part of the crew, right? He's like, we bring him in, he's part of the tribe. And I think a lot of guys don't realize that tribalism is endemic, or it's like innate part of like our human experience. We are always, I don't think it's a bad thing. I think it's a feature, not a bug, right?
It's just all patriarchy.
Yeah. And but when I have talked to guys about sort of, finding their tribes, they often don't realize that they're already in a tribe, right? It could be their Bible study. It could be their workout partner. It could be like guys at work. It could be the guys that they play golf with. It could be whatever it is. You have like sort of little sub tribes, like little small tribes that you don't even realize that you have. And we do that innately, but unless you're like this really self-loathing, isolated troll in the bottom of some basement somewhere, right? You probably have tried, and even then,
I don't think you need to be.
And even then, like if you're playing World of Warcraft and you're in a clan, like it's innate that you want to have a group, right? So it's always going to be there's always going to be some sort of innate tribalism, and I think that's something that when guys get married and they've been in a 20 some odd year marriage and they kind of socially isolate themselves because they're living that lifestyle. They're living the married lifestyle. Right. And like you're saying, I wanted to isolate when you got out, but you knew that you couldn't do that. You had to, if you were going to grow, if you're going to get out of this whole, out of the funk that you were in, you had to get out there and you had to like join MOA, or you had to go do something.
Well, I did
social.
a lot of coaching. I worked with a lot of coaches
over
the period of time of my divorce. So that definitely helped.
Yeah, and just getting out there and getting into it. Yeah. What do we got here? YOLO says, "Hey, hi Rolo. Please explain the link between hypergamy and women's anxiety or depression during or after pregnancy. Is it because they realize that they have been pregnant by a beta? Should she leave?"
Good question.
That's actually a pretty good question. As far as postpartum depression is postpartum depression, I think is something that's a little bit more exacerbated now. I don't think this was something that like a lot of women experienced back when we didn't have sort of like the nuclear family, we didn't have like sort of modern conveniences, like when women are expected to go to work and stuff like that. You want to know where postpartum depression comes from? It comes from like having to leave the baby that you've already emotionally bonded with, and now you got to go back to work. And that's one of the reasons that makes like sort of women more inefficient employees, is because of exactly that. Women will tend to quit a job after they've given birth because they want to spend more time with the kid, right? That's what they're supposed to do. That's what you were evolved to do. So honestly, I think sort of like the depression side of things is more of a modern kind of thing, but it is an extension from an innate sort of evolved dynamic, which is they don't want to be separated from that baby, because women who got that or got anxiety from being away from the baby, if they didn't have that, those babies tended not to thrive and they would die. Or those women would. The women who developed that as sort of like a behavioral characteristic, they were the ones who, like, their children went on and they carried that gene or that behavior set into the next generation.
I'm just wondering, sometimes you'll have marriages where they get married and it's not maybe the greatest marriage
ever. You guys all have kids. You have kids.
Yeah,
I have kids.
We have
you
three adult children.
No kids for you.
Yeah. So it's
you'll get
there. And sometimes they might fall into the trap of thinking that, well, if we have a kid, that might make the marriage better.
Right.
We'll have a child. And then they have the child and they realize, oh no, this is not making it better. It's making it worse. And then they end up divorcing after that. So it may, you're starting out, you may be starting out with an imperfect situation, and it didn't help it. It hurt it.
So just to answer your question, I don't necessarily think it's so much that like they get depression because they know that they like actually reproduce with the beta male. I think it's more of an innate thing. It's like a maternal instinct. Maybe that's a better way to put it.
Yeah. I mean, her wanting to leave, it's like, I don't know.
Well, yeah, if she wants to leave, like I get where you're going with this. I don't necessarily think that initially it's really the depression comes from sort of like saying, "Oh man, I fucked up. I should have married the beta or married the alpha, like one that got away,
or at least tried to." Yeah.
But I understand where you're going with that. There could be like a long-term depression after that, because you're like, "Oh, now I'm stuck with this guy because I have."
And now what do I do?
And now what do I do? Exactly. Can I divorce this guy? And we have institutions and social conventions that sort of facilitate that if you need to. I mean, average age of first divorce for men is 45 years old, right? The average duration, actually, this is a good stat. This average duration of a marriage before the first divorce is anywhere between 7 and 9 years, or 5 to 9 years, with the average being 7. That's why it's 7-year itch, right? Yeah. So there's a predictive framework that comes along with that. And honestly, I would say it's probably because women go through a set of like questions and answers. And when I talk about shit tests, for example, I always have to make a distinction between active shit tests and passive shit tests. The active ones are what you experienced with the girl at Babes in Toyland. That's a very expensive suit. Yeah, I'm an expensive son of a bitch. Oh, really? How expensive? Yeah, that's attack, defense, riposte, back and forth. But basically that was shit testing, but you know this shit so well. And by the way, it was also a very good example of amuse mastery too.
Right.
So or agree and amplify, maybe all of the above, really.
Yeah, it was it was a bit of blend of both.
Yeah.
Right.
And so and it's funny because you're smiling right now because you didn't even realize you're doing it when it happened, but I caught you.
When Rolo, I said afterwards, it's like, well, look, I probably opened a conversation with somewhere between 20 and 30 women then. So it's like, you don't remember almost everything.
Yeah.
And what also I pointed out is you don't really tend to remember what worked.
Yeah.
Because you're on to the next part of the conversation. It's you passed, you keep going. You remember the ones you failed because she might be walking away or the conversation's died. And then you get time to contemplate what you did if you said something that didn't go well.
Yeah, I think we tend to overanalyze our negatives.
And you were in the flow. right? Just
That's
like
the
the
other
flow
too.
state.
You were in
Yeah.
the flow.
You're in
You were
a
talking
flow
to people
state.
after people after
Yeah.
people, and you were flowing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was going to say is that so that was what I would call an active shit test. A passive shit test is when your wife says, "When are you going to mow the lawn? The grass is getting long," or it's usually nagging, or it's passive aggressive communication and behaviors and stuff like that. And you have to understand those are actually shit tests, but they're coming from one common place, which is this guy the best I can do? Did I make a good decision for the rest of my fucking life to be with this guy? Let me nag him and see it. Well, how come he just doesn't do this like without anyone out? Like, how come he can't read my mind? How come he doesn't, that kind of stuff. So nagging tends to be a passive shit test.
Yeah. So, but if a woman gets to a point of nagging, there's been a lot of boundaries that have been crossed up to that point.
Or she goes further than the last one.
Well, no, and that you're not really showing up as the man that she needs to feel comfortable with, right? Because if she's nagging you, she doesn't feel safe in that relationship at that moment. And that's us as men.
My wife is very direct. Like, she's definitely her father's daughter, right? Because he says what he means. He's from Texas. He's got that accent, and he is alpha as fuck, right? And then like her mom, who I love to death, but like she's very passive aggressive in her communications. Like, well, she'll go and do things without asking, she wants you to do it, but she'll go and do it like herself so that she'll get herself in trouble and then you have to bail her out, kind of thing. Yeah. Or it's never a direct communication. It's a very passive aggressive kind of thing. For lack of a better term, it's very indirect. And when I'm dealing with her, I'm like, okay, just say what you're going to say. Just tell me what you need me to do. Like, you have a problem. Let's not dance around it with all this other bullshit. Just tell me what you need to do. And just ask me, I'll help you. Right. Those kinds of things. And it comes, I think that comes from women needing long-term security. And I think overall women's life, because women are the vulnerable sex, right? They want provisioning, protection, and parental investment, right? And that's all the beta bucks long-term security side of the hypergamy equation, right? Then there's the alpha fuck side, which is, look, that suit looks expensive. Like, that's an active shit test, right? So there's the guy that women really want to fuck, and then there's the guy that they've made a lifelong commitment to, and there's always that. It's what I call the hypergamous doubt. Is he the best I can do? If you're the guy that can answer that definitively, like with no uncertainty whatsoever, you're going to have a really good, healthy marriage. That question rarely, if ever, comes up, and she's a ride or die girl, because those shit tests are never going to come up, because that answer to that question and that uncertainty has already been answered.
I think one of the interesting points when I was starting to read The Rational Male the first time, and I had to set it down for a couple of days, it's in the first chapter. It was very early on. And it was talking about shit tests, and it's like, and you said something to the fact of, every time you fail a shit test, she just resents you more.
Yeah, because it builds up. Because the next shit test will be worse than the last one.
It's like, oh no, that was a tough one to take.
Exactly. So anyways, that's that one. I like this one too. I kind of want, I'll wait till Tristan comes back for that, but I got to put this one up here real quick. Rational Agent 47, fulfilling my promise from Minex. Thank you. I'm much appreciated. If you guys want like one-on-one, like if you got like some question that you want to have answered, I'm on Minect. Minect is great. It's through Valuetainment. Although I think they're a private, the app itself is not owned by them, but it's Valuetainment is doing this. And they're promoting Minect as like sort of the app for like, content creators, people who are doing like sort of like consultation and advice and that kind of stuff. And doesn't necessarily have to be like red pill stuff. It's also like financial advice and business and personal things too. But I am on Minect. If you are wondering what Minect is, it's an app, and you want to ask me a question, you want a text answer, you want a video answer, or you want like a live one-on-one kind of thing. It facilitates all of that. So he's actually just catching up with me on that. And I was I have to say, I was a little skeptical about Minect when I first got on it, but now I'm a believer. I definitely, it is a very nice convenience. So if you want to give me a super chat in the middle of the week, that's basically what it is. It's like a live anytime you want it, which is pretty awesome.
I think since, just because I'm on the show today, if you guys have any questions directly about MOA or anything like that, you can link my Instagram and stuff like that. Feel free to reach out to me, DM me, I'll take care of you.
In fact, I will put your, where did I put that? Where's the banners? Oh, I made a specific banner just for you here. There it is. That's his.
You can put the Instagram too. Yeah, if you guys have any questions about Immersion, Men of Action, if there's anything you want to run by me just privately, feel free to contact me. I'm happy to assist you guys.
There you go. And I got one more. Where'd it go? Carl Bennington, thanks. I paid my friend and asked her, why do you date ugly guys? And she said, you want to know the real answer? We know they can't get anyone else. Great. Assurances. Sure you do. And so this is the one I wanted to do. Most women, you know the guys, you know the guy's black pill when it's woman. Post-wall are extremely damaged goods, and don't think allowing them into and I don't think allowing them into your life is helpful. Okay. So that's a good setup. That's a good layup for what I'm about to post up here. Okay. So
let's see.
All right. Let me see if I can give you the buildup for this. Last Thursday, it's summertime here. We're fucking around. We're having a good time at Access Vegas on the last show. And one of the videos, I think it was you that gave us the video of was it Jamie Lynn?
Yes.
And Jamie Lynn was she was just joking around. This is from a while ago, but it was a clip that whenever she posts something that's sort of critical of the red pill, we kind of have to rib her and everything. Of course. So I don't think I have it right now, but the video was
I have it. You want me to send it?
Maybe I do.
I can text it to you. I have it.
Hang on. I might just have it from the old one from Mike's videos here. Oh, here it is. I have it. I already got it. Okay. So this was the video that she posted. It's very short.
A red pill Instagram like that, because it's always a dude in front of a car with a group of girls, because it gives him, clout and social proof. And I'm just like, okay, like you're following the blueprint and that looks desperate and needy as fuck.
So that was the video that we were responding to. And so what I told Mike is I said, we need to get, Lindsay was there, Electro Barbie was there. And she has a bright pink Camaro, and I have a black Camaro. So we took our Camaros, we parked them together.
Yeah.
And we draped ourselves across the cars with all the girls from the show. And this was the product of it right here.
Awesome.
And so we did this, by the way. This is not a professional shoot. Didn't you shoot this? Somebody shot. No, it was Miguel.
This was taken with a phone. Someone shot that with their iPhone.
With their iPhone. Okay.
Yeah.
So the black Camaro on the right's mine, and the pink Camaro is Lindsay's, and Lindsay's the girl that's right in the middle of that whole shot right there. So I post this up afterwards on Instagram, and Jamie's like, oh, imagine being so triggered that you would hire a professional photo shoot and set this whole thing up just to just to trigger me, or just to to respond to it. And
it's all about her.
And I'm like, dear, imagine being so joyless that you would think that we would do something like that to we did it out of humor and love, right? It's not like we hate her or anything like that. That's why we're doing it. Like, get the joke. And then of course I'm going to read some of the responses to this, because the responses to this thing were just unbearable. And this is so I posted this is what I'm talking. Oh, there's Maya. Hi, Maya. You know Maya. So where did it go? I have the this is it. Okay. So I'm going to read some of these responses to this. I won't post it up, but some of these responses were just like insanely funny here. Some of them said fire. Nice shot, guys. And then Electra Barbie's, of course, she's in on all this. Been hitting those weights for sure. Swallow's bigger every time I see it.
Swallow. Yeah, I like that. That's awesome.
All right. And so Jamie says, imagine being so triggered by something I said months ago that you scheduled a photo shoot for it. And like, we didn't actually do that. We just did this whole thing very spontaneously. It was just a joke, right? And
by the way, just for clarification, I just saw the clip on my For You page and sent it to you and Michael. That's just all it was.
And we thought it was funny, and we thought we would do something that was just sort of like fun. And I want to understand this.
I do want to say something on that.
When did we lose our collective sense of humor?
Yeah.
Like everyone took this like it's the fucking gospel truth from like the tablets on Mount Sinai. I mean, it was just insane.
Yeah.
I'm like, why are people taking this so literally? Go ahead. What do you say?
No. I think it's funny that she said, and this is not Jamie, if you ever watch this, I'm not knocking
we love you.
We love you.
We
awesome.
did this out of love.
Great.
I know. And I hate that we even have to explain this.
But it's funny that she described that as a red pill Instagram. Most people, guys who watch Red Pill don't even have an Instagram to begin with, or don't have anything on their Instagram. What she was really describing was an MOA Instagram. Oh, that's what she was talking about. Because most Red Pill, just most men don't have good Instagram. They don't have good content. Talking about immersion from what we talked about earlier, that's another thing. A lot of guys who are getting back into the sexual marketplace, they don't have good social media. So that's not most guys. But here's something I want to point out. She would have never noticed those guys to begin with if they didn't have those pictures.
No matter what,
she wouldn't even notice them.
Yeah.
So that's the other thing that's really important.
Oh my God.
To notice.
So I'm gonna read some of these other things. I got a bunch of fun stuff here. Then I love this one. Wow, these Western cave troll women are females. They're not women. These Western cave troll females really belong under the bridge. Top fives with makeup, overweight, no sense of style, stool, or class with clown makeup. Okay, that love you too, bro. Rough. How about exchange the girls to natural-looking 20-year-old ones? Trust me, dude. If you took the average 20-year-old woman, you would never want her to be on that show. Trust me on this one. The average American woman who is 20 years old. The best flex is being an even-headed, mature man who is dedicated to family, friendship, and kindness. Like really, you got all of that out of one picture. Well, no, but the thing is they look thrilled. Not a good look. Is Rolo drinking the TRT by the gallon? That was pretty funny. A real flex would have been to have a large family surrounding you. Grow the hell up. Okay. This is where I wanted to go with this. Is I get this a lot. Like people will say, Rolo, act your age. Rolo, you need to cut your hair. Rolo, you're take that beanie off. Right. And I posted a series of like 6 pictures of me without my hat on or without my beanie on, which I've done on my Instagram. Yeah. And I'll refer them. I'll say, here's your link. Go rub one out. Right. But the thing that gets me all the time is I get guys, and maybe you guys get this occasionally too, because you're successful. You got style. I know the chicks you've been with. The girl that like opened you at Babes in Toyland. I know the caliber of women that you were just before the show. You're showing us like stuff in your inbox, right? I know what you're capable of because I've seen it happen. Well, I definitely know what you're capable. But the thing is like I think a lot of people think that like if you're older, especially if you're in your 50s, like you ought to be a grandpa. Like people that they love to use that as some sort of insult, right? I play in a band, by the way. Thank you very much. Now I do again. Thank you, Lindsay. I've never really been the guy who will do what people want me to do, right? I stylistically or like personal life wise, I do the things that I am interested in, and my look. I change my look all the time. I used to look like Frank Underwood from House of Cards back in the day, right? When I was working for the liquor industry. Or people will go back and they'll go back to my YouTube channel, or they'll go and look at me giving live talks on the 21 convention, and they go, "Wow, Rolo looks so old in this." And I was like probably 8 years younger in those ones, and I had my hair like military cropped short, right? And then I decided I was going to grow my hair out because I knew my mother wasn't going to be around too much longer, and she asked me, she says, "I loved it when you had long hair. Will you grow it out again?" And that was my mother's dying request. It's that I would grow my hair out, and then I started playing in bands and everything, so I just kept it the way it was. And I'm going to do what I'm going to do. I don't give 2 flying fucks what anyone says about like, oh, you need to do it. But I think what's interesting is there's this expectation that guys like our age should look a certain way. Like maybe this is it. I don't know. Maybe this is it. Clearly this is not it. And so I'm like, well, what does that look like to you? What does grow up look like to you? And I think a lot of people think that I ought to be sitting at home watching Seinfeld and bouncing my grandchild on my fucking knee and talking about the good old days, right? And I'm like, where the fuck are you getting this from? And I think that one of the things, especially for guys who are like a 45 to 65-year-old demographic, the guys that we're looking at right now, I think maybe like breaking out of that mentality is something that we need to sort of address for the guys that we're trying to help, right? So for instance, when you're looking at Harold was like he's 57, 58, something like that. And we had to go and help him out stylistically. And stylistically meaning we're not putting him in sensible Dockers and fucking, some sort of loafers or some shit like that. And we're going to give him a nice, brown shirt that's a button down. And, that's not what that's not what we're about. And I don't think we actually ought to have to be about that stylistically anyways, but it's not even so much stylistically. It's also mentally. Like, you ought to think the way that I expect a 50-year-old, a 60-year-old, a 80-year-old, whatever it is. It's like every time it's like, act your age. It's like, well, do you know how old I am? They wouldn't know about that. But I think it's funny that there's this, they're almost indignant that you don't fit their image, their mental archetypal image in their head of what a guy who is 58 years old. Do you guys deal with that with anyone else?
Just family.
Or is that just, well, yeah, that might be it too,
the older
right?
women in my family.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Right. Or then, and I fired back here, and I just realized this recently, is like, you'll know you've made it as an influencer when you can't post a single picture, like me and Ned. Like, I can't post that without somebody going, that's not a flex, man. Why do you think that every picture I put up is a flex? Like, I posted a shot of myself on the back of Fresh's Audi. He has an R8 or something like that, right? And we were in Miami, and he needed a new shot for the thumbnail, right? That's all he was doing. I thought it was a good shot, so I put it up there. They go, is that your car? Oh man, imagine having so much money that you ripped off from all these poor helpless incels that you could buy an R8 kind of thing. You got all of that from one picture. And I know that haters are are fairly rare. They're just vocal. Like, you're only seeing the hate, right? So like, for every one hater, there's like, you got 1,000 people at your fans, right? But I thought it's interesting that all the haters follow the same pattern. They follow the same framework, which is act your age, come back into the, like, drag you back into my expectations of you. And I'm always going to defy your expectations no matter what. And I'm wondering if that's not a sort of an obstacle for guys who are sort of coming back into the sexual marketplace after a divorce.
Yeah. I think
Did you have to deal with it?
It is a little bit like, you can get it from family. But also, like, when we were at XS the other night, one of the older women came up to me, and she was like, you shouldn't be with younger women. And so
that's another one. Yeah.
And
wait, they said that?
Yeah. Yeah. She, and I was like, but Ryan Stone recommended a really great book called, When I Say No, I Feel Bad. And it talks about fogging. So I just kept asking her, it's like, well, but why? What's wrong? What's wrong with me? What's wrong with, dating someone or seeing someone that's younger, and get them to just keep talking about it.
Right.
But yeah, it does come up, but I think that,
pretty much all, like, what's your let's just say average demographic of women that you're interested in, or that you're like dating right now?
Do you have a demographic that you're interested in?
Like, is there too old or too young?
And good looking.
Yeah.
Fit and good looking is your demographic.
I mean, yeah. Well, if you're going to ask me what I look for in a woman, it would be fit and fun. Because that fit tells me a lot about their personality and who they are. But like, yeah, when you were saying demographic, I was like, oh, is he talking about age? Or, and I also like to abide by what Dr. Glover says in his book, Dating Essentials. You just walk through open doors. You meet someone and they're attracted to you, they're attracted to you. So you talk to them and you get to know them. And whatever that, whoever she is whoever she is, because attraction is attraction. I can't exactly explain it, but yeah, we try to keep things simple. So like fit, we both said the same thing, fit.
Yeah.
Fit's number one.
I think, and what you were saying earlier, like when you were saying, like, you're kind of ratting me out a little bit as far as like, I'm around attractive women. Even Mike has said this before. He said, like when he goes on, and sometimes I even see this in his Zoom calls and stuff, some guy will come in and they'll start popping off about me. Right. Yeah. They'll say, well, I can't believe you're associated with Rolo. He's so cringe, that kind of shit. And then Mike will be like, well, no, dude, we do Access Vegas like pretty much every other week. And like the girls love him. Right. I mean, he's like, you don't know because you're not there to see. And all they're really doing is sort of getting this secondhand.
No, you can see it. You can see it on the podcast.
Exactly.
You can see that.
I'm actually a pretty social guy. I know what I'm doing. I've been married for a while, and I actually am pretty good at that. But I think we were on we were at Adam Sosnick's show.
Yeah.
And it was not the last time, but the time before. It was myself, Sterling Cooper, and Mike were on the show. And there's just about 10 years between each of us. Like I'm 56, Mike's 46, and Sterling Cooper's 36.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when I'm hanging out with Sterling Cooper, who, and by the way, is going to be coming out to Vegas and towards the middle end of July, I'm not thinking, oh, he's 20 years younger than I am. What are we ever going to talk about? He's from a different I don't think that.
Yeah.
Because we have some sort of shared common interest, which of course is intersexual dynamics and red pill stuff, but he's also a cool dude. Like I've gone mountain bike riding with him in Lake Tahoe too. And we had a fucking blast. We didn't talk about any red pill shit. We were just out there on trails, right? And trying not to injure ourselves. But I mean, he's just a good guy. But like when I'm doing that, I'm not thinking, oh, I'm of a different generation than this guy is. And so I need to impart some old man wisdom to this guy. I don't even think of that.
We don't talk like that.
No, not at all. Yeah. And I think honestly, and this was more to the point with the whole age, generational thing. I'm really against this idea of what I call generationalism. Like everybody wants to sort of pigeonhole you as, oh, you're a Zoomer, you're a millennial, you're an Xer, a Gen Xer, you're a Boomer. Right. And so each one of those is almost like an astrological sign right now. So if you're a part of that generation, then you're always like this and you're like this and you're a millennial. So you're like disaffected and despondent and pissed off and depressed. And you're a Generation X. Sorry, I'm going to rat you out, Aaron Clary. Generation X is like we were 30 when we were 15 and we're 30 when we're 50. Like that's you don't do anything else and you don't mess with the latchkey kids because we'll like chew a hole right through you, right? And then there's the Zoomers who just like are the Zoomers, right? I think that's kind of unfair because you're technically a Zoomer, and I like you.
Yeah.
Appreciate
that. That's saying a lot.
And you know what? I don't think you're 24, right? So yeah, you're Zoom. You're not lazy. You're not jerking off in your mom's basement somewhere. I don't know how much weed you smoke. You don't smoke any weed. You're actually in charge of I would say at least a multi-million-dollar company, right?
Assistant. I don't want to say I'm in charge.
In charge of it, but you're working in. I mean, you're an entrepreneur by anybody's measure. I would say to most degree, and you're Gen Z. So I think it would be very. I would be insulting you if I thought that you were a typical, Gen Zer, right? The other guy CJ, who was the second guitarist in my old band, Trial of Ascension, he's probably 2 years older than you. He's got 2 kids. He's one of the upper management guys for Tesla. He is a quote unquote Zoomer. And I'm like, he does not fit the stereotypical Zoomer archetype. So I think it's time we sort of give up on this bullshit about like generationalism, because like I said, it's like almost like modern day like MBTI or astrology or some shit like that, because I think we need to take people on a case by case basis at this point. And the reason
Even
I say
for
that,
me, like I feel like most of my male friends are over 30.
Well, yeah, probably. And
almost all of them actually.
And so like, for instance, when I'm hanging out with like Maya Allegra, right? She's 22. She's younger than my daughter, right? But we can talk. We actually have, like, she's very interesting. She's a very intelligent person. She was the first one I called because we needed a younger girl for the interview that we did about like entrepreneurship with Robert Kiyosaki. And she hit me up. She says, I would really like to be a part of that panel because I have read Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I'm like, holy fuck. You're 22 and you've read, Rich Dad, Poor Dad? Yes, you're on the show, right? And we had her as the youngest, and I think we had like Kaylin Franca, and she was the oldest. She's like mid to late 30s, I think. Yeah. And I'm not thinking, oh, she's 22 and Kaylin's 38 or 39, right? I'm not, or, Robert Kiyosaki's older than I am. Like, he's in his 70s. If I'm working on a project and I'm working on something of like sort of a bi-story basis, I'm not thinking in terms of generation. But that's the first fucking thing that will come out of a woman's mouth who's saying, I can't believe you're dating younger girls. What will you ever talk about?
I think it's the crabs in the bucket theory, because you have the women who look at you and they understand that you have the ability to date someone younger.
Right.
And they don't want you to do that. They want you to wait for them. They want you to not take those opportunities, because then you would have to settle for someone that's older.
Right.
And for men, it's the same thing. Older men would say the same thing because they don't have the ability to be able to date younger women like we would. And
so here's the obvious question. Can older guys in our demographic get with much younger girls?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Yes. What demographic? What's it?
I actually think just from seeing the ranges of it, I think it's honestly easier.
I think so.
Easier for
why would you say that?
Guys who are, I guess, like 30 and up to get women who are in their 20s than it is for me.
Mm-hmm.
I've noticed that. So I actually think it's the opposite.
Yeah, because and why do you think that is?
Because I think that a lot of things that women are going to be more attracted to in a man just come more with age, whether that's resources, experience, money, leadership, all that stuff will usually come with someone who's older.
Yeah, I had this conversation with Mike once, and we were talking about TRT and how
that too.
Like that's the first thing people say, like, "Well, Rollo, man, he's put on so much muscle." Blah blah blah. I was like, "Well, yeah, I also work out with Hide Yamagishi from Powerhouse Gym here in Vegas too." It doesn't just magically like appear on your body if you take TRT, right? But people will say, you take TRT, you're cheating. You're cheating by doing that, right? Nobody says, oh, well, women who are on menopause are cheating by taking estrogen and taking, hormones like that. The only guys are cheating if they do that. And I think that really kind of boils down to like the generational thing, because I think guys who are like in their 20s and there's women who are in their 20s, maybe early 30s, are getting statistically are getting with guys who are older than, well, put it this way, older than 30, Mac and Murphy, because the demographic is 18 to 29. And if you look at the stats for I might even have them out, for single versus in a relationship, I think it's like 34% of women are single, whereas like 63 or 64% of guys in that age demographic are single.
Yeah.
Right? And so you're saying, well, where are all these women? Well, how are these women in these relationships if they're not in the relationship with the guy who is in that same age cohort? And it's like, yeah, well, the obvious answer that no one seems to want to say is they're dating guys who are at least 30 years or older, because then they'd be out of the cohort, right?
Right.
So we're not saying that it's like Leonardo DiCaprio getting with, the 26 or 20, well, that'd be too old. Sorry, 23 to 24 year olds, right? But it would have to be at least older than 30.
Yeah.
So, so when we look at those stats, something's going on there, and it's either women of that cohort don't find those guys attractive, or guys who are older now in this data age, and guys like such as yourself, successful guys, they have the ability to get with younger women because you have more of what women find attractive. So when I was sort of having it out with like Mac and Murphy came at me saying like, well, you don't see 23-year-old girls getting with guys who are like 36 or 37, because that's where I pet
or 56
or 56, right? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And
never happens.
Ever. Not on YouTube anyway. No. It only happens on Rumble. But there's almost this indignation, and I think the reason for that is because those guys realize that when it comes to like hypergamy, when it comes to things that women find most attractive, men, it takes longer for men to accrue those things than but 24 years old. I love you, Tristan. But and the funny thing is you're on top of your game. Yeah. And you make money. You're here. You live in Vegas. You have access to Vegas, right? You have opportunities. You work for MOA, so it's not difficult for you to meet.
No one
women
thinks
and
I'm
everything.
24.
So that's why I said you're. I wouldn't have guessed. But so you're in a kind of a unique position, and you're still saying to me that even that you see women of your same age that are dating guys
especially
that are
here,
older.
because you can't not be 21 in Vegas. When I'm back at school, it's a little different because there are women who are like 18. So I am older than them. Like I'm an older guy to them.
Sure.
But when it's in Vegas where you can't not be 21, I feel like the most attractive women here, I don't like the only, attractive women here that I know that are under 25. The only one I've ever met was Kylie.
Yeah.
Kylie's the only one.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone is at least 25, 26. So, even for them, they are usually dating a guy who's a little bit older, not much older, but definitely in his 30s.
Sure. And what's funny to me is, and I've got this kind of like, I guess it's a joke, but like it's this pithy little saying that we've always said since back in the old days, is that scientists and psychologists are always surprised to see Mother Nature fucking the mailman, right? They're always surprised. Oh, it's so shocking that no, it's not shocking, especially if you're like you're in Vegas, if you're in the sexual marketplace. There's nothing shocking about it until you go and you write an article about it and you realize you have to sort of pick and choose your words very carefully, because if you don't, you might not have a writing gig after that, right? So when I see people who are like criticizing some of my work, I'm like, you just simply don't understand the work, first of all. But what I'm saying is, like, when guys hit 36, 37, 38 years old, that's usually when they're hitting their stride. That's when they may partner in the law firm. That's when they become a surgeon. They are done with the residency, right? They're actually starting to make some money and start to be more, they have accrued more of the things, assuming they maximize their potential, accrued more of the things that make them maximally attractive than they ever could have when they were 26, right? Because it took longer for them to get to that. And does that mean that 23-year-olds are going to be, girls are going to be specifically targeting 36, 37, 38-year-olds? No, they're not. Of course not. You know why? Because they're not targeting anybody at all. They're 23. They're at the peak of their agency. They're not looking to settle down. They're not looking to fucking find a husband or anything like that. They're enjoying themselves at the height of their sexual selection. So to say that, that guys who are 30, guys who are 40, guys who are 50 are trying to pretend like we still got it, right? I love that stigma. I'm sure you guys have probably heard that before. Like, you're having a midlife crisis. Have you been told you're having a midlife crisis?
Oh, yes.
You have?
Yep. Oh, yeah.
From who?
Well, and I'll joke about it, because they'll be like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm going through my midlife crisis." Of course,
Again?
don't you know?
A green apple.
You got a Camaro.
Yeah. It's like, what do you got that motorcycle for?
Corvette.
A Corvette. Yeah.
For the old white dudes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Is that what you got? Did you have a Corvette?
No, I don't.
No, you don't have a.
That's a joke.
What kind of car do you do?
Just Toyota.
Toyota. Tacoma.
Avalon.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I got a Tacoma. I got my hillbilly car, my redneck car, and I got my muscle car.
Yeah.
But yeah, you literally cannot get away from the fact that people want to like push you back into your age appropriate hole.
Sure.
And I was going to say, the reason I brought up the whole thing with Sterling, myself, and Mike was because there's 10 years difference, and I didn't even think about that until Adam actually brought it up.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't think in terms of age anymore.
Yeah.
So if I'm talking to, like I said, if I talk to Maya and she wants to be on the show with Robert Kiyosaki, I'm not thinking, there's 60 years between us, 50 years between the two of them. I'm not thinking that. I'm just going to do it and facilitate it, and it's good content. It's going to be a good show. But according to people who want to shame you back into your hole, that's a bad idea, right? So I think that's something that we kind of have to like be aware of when we're helping guys who are the 45 to 65-year-old range, because there's going to be sort of that stigma that might be in the back of their head
definitely.
that somebody told them at some point in their lives. So
I've got some older female cousins that are, when they look at my Instagram, they're like, "What's Joe doing?" I've heard that through my sister.
Oh, really?
Yeah. What's going on with Joe?
Doing? What's wrong with him?
How
come he hasn't settled down with another 58-year-old?
They saw that I had put a picture on there
menopause.
of a photo shoot we did, and it was a younger girl at the ATV thing, right?
Do you get criticized for that? Like hanging out? Because obviously you're taking pictures of the girls on Instagram.
Yeah.
When we're at like.
Well, we did a photo shoot with Michael Mata's ATV company.
Oh yeah,
and I just posted just a picture of
on
one
quads
of the girls.
or something like that. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. She was like leaning on me like that.
And Did they call you and like?
Oh no. I just heard it when I went back. Right. Yeah. But my sister's like giving me the serious concerned look.
Yeah.
What's going on?
Do you ever get that? Do you get shamed for like?
I don't know that they don't really approach
pictures,
like inside the family. Not on my side. Yeah, it kind of gets left alone. Like you said, I'll get older women that'll be like, why are you, you should be dating us.
Right.
And that's the kind of thing I usually run into. Not so much, the midlife crisis thing. Everybody's like, "Oh, you're on a bike. Well, just be safe."
Yeah. Be safe. Just be safe. Wear your helmet.
Wear your helmet.
Yeah. Well, you got to remember, okay, so when I was talking about average age of first divorce, right, which is 45 for men, it's 42 for women. So when women get out of a divorce and they want to go and party and they want to get back into the sexual marketplace, and they find out that their competition is Maya Allegra, who's 22, like for that particular age demographic, then it sort of makes sense that they would want to in some way find some methodology to sort of shame you into like getting you back on the plantation or something.
Yeah, because I don't blame them for this. It's not a criticism, but when they're coming back out and they're divorced, maybe there's children involved, they're in asset allocation. They're trying to get provisioning. They're trying to get provisioning. So a lot of times the feeling that comes across from older women, particular women over 35 or 40, is it's transactional very early. It's not validational.
I see.
You know, they're not
They're looking for a man with benefits.
Yeah, they're not. If they, well, look, I think that they'll break rules for certain guys, but when they look at me, they're like, oh, he's boyfriend potential. So I'm going to make a rule for him. I'm not going to break a rule for him. And the problem that they have to understand is, I know women that break rules for me. So if you're going to make one for me, I don't need to know you.
Yeah, I got a better one on my in my DMs right now.
And I think they misunderstand that. Well, no, you'll think that she's so like, oh, but if she sleeps with you, then you'll think she's a slut. It's like, no, I know that she did it because she's doing it for validation. I know the difference. And guys like us, we know the difference. And that actually they'll have a better chance with us long term than short term if they're starting to try to write rules for us right off the bat.
Do you think of yourself as an alpha male?
Oh, absolutely. No, yeah.
Joe, do you think of yourself as an alpha?
I think to me, that's not my primary focus. I believe being an alpha is for society to decide.
Right.
Women decide if I'm an alpha. Other men around me decide if I'm an alpha. I'm still trying to be the best I can be.
Right.
And everybody else can decide that. I don't. You ask me, do I feel it? Yeah, I do feel I am. But that's really
the reason I asked that is because, like, Joe, you brought this up too, is like when guys come out of the divorce machine, right? The number one most common problem they have is like their self-valuation, like realizing how valuable they are, what their potential is. I think one of the reasons why we need to focus a lot on like physique and fitness. That's one of the first things we say, get in the gym, bro, right? Because 75% of the US population is overweight. So that's probably going to be the first problem that you're going to have to deal with when you're coming out of a divorce, right? But beyond that, like Mike and I always use the female delusion calculator as sort of a metric for this. Yeah. And we do this because originally the calculator was created sort of to show how delusional women were and their standards for these guys, right? To show the margin of like the percentage of the population that this guy represents that you're after, 6 feet tall, 6-figure income, blah, blah, blah. But it's also a very useful tool for guys who don't know what their own personal value is. And it's not even, we're not talking about religion. We're not talking about like personality. We're not talking about like, ideology or political affiliation, or like, does he want to have kids in the future or puppy dogs or whatever? We're just talking about, is he overweight? How much money does he make? How tall is the dude? Because those are the most, and they're easily trackable. It's the CDC and it's the Census Bureau data. It's right there, black and white. Those are the numbers. And then even just using that criteria and putting your own stats into the calculator and realizing that they are probably like, in some cases, like maybe 4% of the population, or maybe even like, I don't know, have you ever done this? Have you ever put your own stats in the female delusion calculator?
Yeah.
Do you know where you're at?
Like less than.
I mean, even if you're in like the 5% or lower, you're still doing pretty goddamn good.
Yeah, man. It was like top 4%, and then like for my age, it was like top 0.01% or something like that.
Yeah, but I think it's interesting. Like I do that for like even personal consults. I don't care how old they are. That's the first place I start them. I say, let's go put your stats in here just so you get an idea of how rare an animal you really are. And I think that probably would. That's one of the things that would really help guys, because guys tend to be more analytical. They tend to be more rational, right? They tend to be more like numbers based, deductive, problem solving based. And if you show them that, and again, it's like basic stats, I think they get a little boost. I did that with Harold, by the way.
Okay.
When I first started working with him. What do you got here? Carl Bennington, Michael should test Kylie to see her phone in front of the cameras. Break up if she doesn't. If I gave up other girls, damn right, I can check it.
He doesn't understand.
I don't think that was, you don't understand that relationship.
You have
whatsoever.
to see them together.
Yes.
And
And what's funny is like she would probably just hand it to him on or off camera.
Yeah. No, I don't think these guys don't understand because they don't know them outside of what they see on YouTube.
YOLO. Hi again. If women don't date under their SM sexual market value because of hypergamy, how can prostitutes date down when they work for money? Thanks for all your great work. Best regards. It's because they can compartmentalize sex from the emotional investment. That's why.
It's an easy one.
That's one is a job and one is
also one you're comparing one she's just doing as a service versus genuine desire. So it's like they're not even related.
Yeah, because one type of sex is validational and the other type of sex is transactional. I think you know which one is transactional. And then I got this one here. Rolo, you said TRT makes effort feel good. Actually, it was Mike that did, and I agreed with him. Can you explain this more precisely? Are you restless? I've always been restless. Do you feel less pain or something else? Are you guys anybody on TRT? You're not on TRT. No. You're not on TRT. I only do this on TRT at this table right now.
Boy,
I
James,
can't believe you're not. I can't believe you're not.
I'm exercising the shit out of myself. The thing you got to think about is being back here. I'm with my job. I'm not putting myself under a tremendous amount of stress. Yeah, so I eat right. I exercise. I live the lifestyle that's conducive to being able to be as healthy as possible. And I have good genetics from my grandmother. So that kind of helps.
You work out?
Yeah.
Where do you work out? What do you do? What kind of stuff do you do? CrossFit, right?
Some CrossFit, weights, play basketball.
Kettlebells.
Yeah.
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 But you don't.
Well, Michael told me to take the test, so I wouldn't take the test, and mine was too high, so they wouldn't give it.
Oh, they wouldn't even give it to you. Oh, yeah. See, damn it, your age too. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Well, there's a lot you can do with diet, supplements, and even peptides.
Well, I
will say a thing with TRT. I think a lot of people just go to test when you could do a lot of other things before you go.
Yes.
I think that should be a last resort.
Peptides. Get a lot of peptides. Yes, there's lots of right, Kyle. Peptides. Yes. It's not gear. It's peptides.
It's an amino acid in a needle.
Yes. Yes. It's funny is semaglutide, like what Ozempic is technically a peptide. So.
Oh wow.
But as far as since I'm the only one on TRT here, yeah, it does make effort feel good. It takes a while to do it though. So like you won't even really feel the effect until like week 8 or week 10 that you're on it. But man, once you do, you understand the difference.
I think the biggest problem that guys have that don't take TRT is they think that it's a one quick fix, and it's not. Talking to guys that do take TRT, it's part of a whole package. You have to work even harder. You have to train even harder. You have to eat even more healthy. You have to sleep better. It'll help you recover. It won't make you stronger. It'll help you recover. But if you take it and you don't train, if you don't live the right lifestyle, it's not going to do anything for you.
Like muscle doesn't just magically appear on your body if you take TRT. You actually have to go lift. And that's been one of the benefits that of me moving to like permanently, semi-permanently to Vegas is because the first thing I did was I got a membership at Powerhouse Gym in Vegas, and Hide Yamagishi is the IFBB world champion 2023. Iris Kyle, who is the co-owner of it, is also like 9-time Miss Olympia. So 10-time Miss Olympia. Shout out to Iris Kyle. I'm going to get her on the show at some point. But I've actually done interviews with Hide and his workout partner, George. And he runs American Hormone Optimization Clinic or something like that. I can't remember it off the top of my head. But these like being around that and being like, I can't wait to get there. Right. And if I have to throw like how TRT makes you feel about like lifting, I can't wait to get the fucking gym. Like I wake up in the morning, I run here's my routine. People say, well, what's your routine in the morning? I get up. I'm usually up about 5:30 because the dogs wake me up because they're greyhounds. And that's what they've been trained to do is get up as soon as the sun rises. Whatever sunrise is, that's when I got up this morning. Okay.
Like a 3-year-old child.
Yes. Well, Ned can't run, and Ned would love to probably run with me right now. I have been like taking him around the block now because he's a little more mobile. But Anna, my other dog, you have to understand, Anna was a champion racer when she came off the track. And they raced her 223 times. She placed first, second, or third, win, place, or draw, or win, place, or show. More times, like over more than half of the time. So she's a money dog. Like the dog just wants to run. And in the morning, she is ready to go. So I usually run for 2 miles out, 2 miles back. So it's like 4 miles in the morning. So do that, come back, check my Instagram, check my Twitter, check my, things, make sure the world hasn't exploded or anything like that. And then like I'll have some protein, like a protein shake or something like that. Get in the Camaro, go down to Powerhouse, and I work out for probably about maybe an hour. And I like going at certain times because I know who's going to be there. and Hide's usually there. And if we're doing the same body part in that day, we might work out a little bit together. So, so when people go, well, he looks swole, I'm like, well, yeah, because I want to be there, and I'm prioritizing, money, muscles, and game. This year it's muscles. So sue me, but that's what I'm going to do, and I enjoy. I do this, and I look this way because I enjoy doing it. Right. It's great. You're flexing on us. Yeah, you're goddamn right. I will flex on you. In this case, yes, I will. Yeah. So that's the TRT does make effort feel good, but it's more than just that too. So it helps your mental state. The colors in your world are different.
The key to all of our success is our discipline.
Yeah.
And going on TRT is not going to improve your discipline. If you don't have it before, it's not going to do anything for you after.
Well, I used to say my TRT was the squat rack, and it still kind of is too. So
there you go.
Yeah, there's
therapy session. Yeah, next therapy session.
Yeah, exactly. There's certain things you can do. I want to throw one more thing out here real quick, because this is actually the title of the show. Is Can Modern Women Ever Trust Men? And the reason why I threw this on here is because the bear. Because of the bear. You guys have heard of the bear? The bear in the woods?
Was that what it was? Was that what that was about? It was about trust? Did they trust a bear more than men?
They trust they trust a bear. And what's funny is, like, since then, every time there's a bear attack, somebody ends up in my feed, right? See, ladies? And of course, what happens is, I don't think people really understand, like, the whole principle behind that is, there was a video of a woman who was wanting to go pet like a grizzly bear. I think it might have been in like the Smoky Mountains or something, like Tennessee or some shit like that. Not good. And so she had completely ignored the mansplaining guy who said, "Don't go to that bear, because that bear will rip your fucking head off." And I have a very healthy having semi grew up in Lake Tahoe. I stay away from bears. I get it. I just recently, last year, I was staying in the Tahoe Keys, because my daughter got married, and we rented a place in the Keys for a month, right? And the Keys are infested with bears. I usually stay in like the mountainous areas. I might see one or two. I saw a bear damn near every single day that I was there. And I was getting my jet skis, and my wife and I were going out. And she's like, she couldn't even speak because the thing was that close, and it was coming down the dock. Like it had a baby in tow, and it was like trying to get over like the little chain link fence to get a little, maybe 4-foot chain link fence. And she's like, "Just get on your jet ski, get on your jet ski." I'm like, "What?" And I look over, and as close as probably where Kyle is over there. That's how close I was to it. Yeah, it was very close to it. And I would not get next to a bear. But the whole point is, like, the video was this chick who got basically mauled and killed by a bear. Well, of course, what happens is the black pill doomers, the incels, go and throw this out there, and they want to say, like, well, look how stupid this chick is, right? Because she didn't take the guy's warning, and she got killed as a result of it. That was the whole point of that. It's not about the bear. It's about the fact of what happened and what led up to that. So what happens then is we have women who will come back and they'll say, well, I would trust a bear in the forest more than a man. And then, of course, now we're supposed to redirect and reframe the argument in the sense of men are more dangerous. They're killers of women, not bears, right? And I'm like, so now we're going to take the fact that you didn't listen to this guy, or this girl didn't listen to this guy, she got killed, but now you're going to say that the men are more dangerous than bears, and so therefore it's a wash. And so this led me to sort of an old argument that I've had, and maybe you guys can help me out with this. Why do you guys think that women intrinsically today, it seems like modern women anyways, well, since the sexual evolution, don't trust men anymore? They're inherently untrustworthy. Do you think that that's a popular concept? Because that's what I hear a lot of.
I think.
I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I think it's popular in rhetoric. I feel like in my life, because I go between like places like here, but a place like Boston, I don't feel like that's just necessarily. I don't feel like that's the norm. I don't really feel like that at all.
But they don't trust men in particular.
Yeah, I don't feel like that's. I feel like that's something that's like passed around as a rhetoric. I don't feel like that's something
you have to ask the right.
practiced.
I think you have to ask the right question. But okay.
Well, I just pay attention to their actions, right? I don't feel like their actions really display.
Well,
that.
It seems to me like their actions are. A lot of women's actions today, modern women, at least in Western societies, their actions and their behaviors are meant to set up situations or set up their lives so that they can ensure their own security because they don't trust men to be in charge. Like when you use,
I see what you
when
mean.
you use, like for instance, when you use language like women need to submit to men, right? Women bristle at that because it sounds like slavery. It sounds like women need to, like I was about some of the videos I was playing earlier here, like women need to learn to, it was Sadia Khan who said this. Women need to learn to submit to a worthy man, right? And they have a really tough time doing that. And I think it's primarily because women don't trust men.
It might be a little, there's two things to unpack is that, and because I remember Mike Sartain talks about it all the time. It's like, stop sleeping with men that lie to you then.
Right.
You know, so there's kind of that side of things. But what you're also talking about, not trusting and having to give up and trying to be, you know, we talk about submit, which is a tough word to say, but trying to have a woman be feminine around a really masculine guy. I know, just hear me out. I saw a clip from Teal Swan. Now I think she's a woman. When she's a woman talking to women about women's issues, I think she's got some points. And she talks about women having to come out into this marketplace now to compete with men. So she talks about them having to build a shield around their femininity, like their femininity is a flower, but they have to put this shield around it. And what happens is now that flower doesn't get any sunlight, doesn't get any water, doesn't get any rain, and they kind of lose their femininity. And they pick up masculine traits, such as they get a huge ego investment into their success for whatever it is that they're doing. And then, and I remember there was somebody that was on Access Vegas, and she talked about that. She's like, well, if I met a guy, I don't know if I could do that. And it's like, okay, you know, you meet a guy who's super masculine and you're really into him. Can you bring your femininity back? Can you make that change?
Can you get back in touch with your inner feminine?
I mean, he's showing up with the UV lights and a ton of fertilizer and water, and he's going to try to get that flower to come back. But it's like, you know, can you do that? And I think it might manifest itself in a way where they're saying, I don't trust men, but it's like, I just don't want to, you know, I've done all this for myself. I have all this. I don't want to give that up to have to take orders from someone else. Right. So it's not a matter of trust. It's their own ego investment in their own success that they're trying to protect. And they just, you know, don't listen to what they say, watch what they do. So it's just the way they're saying it. But I think if they meet the right guy, they could do it.
It's easier to do.
But it may not be a light switch. Like they're not going to all of a sudden be like that overnight. It might take time.
That's what I was like to add on to his point. That's what I meant by, like, I say that I think that's the rhetoric, but I feel like when they meet the right guy, they do like to be led. I've just noticed that. So I'm completely agree with his point.
What do you think about it, Joe?
Well, it comes down to the decisions you make in your life and the people you hang out with. And are they hanging out with the right guys? Right. I mean, because all our decisions, where we are today is based upon the decisions and things that happened to us in our past. So is it a commentary on who men are today, or is it a commentary on what decisions people make in their lives? And if a woman feels like she doesn't have any safety or security with men, and she needs to keep a job herself because she can't trust men, then, you know, where did that come from?
Right. I was going to say is, like, I think where it comes from is really this empowered woman narrative that's been around really since like the late 60s and early 70s, sort of the Betty Friedan and Gloria Steinem era stuff. Because I still hear a lot of that same rhetoric.
Well, I would say my mom was kind of somewhat of a man hater. I'm not going to give her the full man hater moniker, but she had some things happen in her life where men didn't show up for her. She had a miscarriage when she was 21. She had a male doctor who was not comforting in any way and said that you could die tonight or you might live. You know, and so he put her into a state of fear. And so over time, you know, I don't know where else she had it, but she wanted a strong man in her life, but she married a guy that was kind of a mama's boy, my stepdad. He was a good dude, totally good dude. But, you know, he just placated her, basically.
I think if women don't get that provisioning, protection, and parental investment from a guy, they feel like they have to do it themselves. And so really for the last, I think probably, well, since the boomer generation, so I guess maybe the last 4 generations since the post-sexual revolution, we've kind of systematically turned men into either incompetent, or they're like Homer Simpson and Everybody Loves Raymond, or that kind, the stereotypical doofy dad from sitcoms and stuff like that. Then mom needs to save him from himself. He just can't take care. He's like basically a big kid, right?
Right.
And so he's a drag, right? He's dead weight. Then you got the guy who's like borderline abusive, and he's not quite going to send you to like the women's battered shelter or something like that, but maybe he's manipulative, maybe he's not there, maybe he's just simply absent. There's the guy that is gonna like be, for lack of a better term, the borderline abuser. And then there's really kind of a modern, like sort of millennial / Zoomer generation archetype, which is the guy who's just simply incompetent. He doesn't know how to drive a stick. He doesn't know how to tie a Merovingian knot. He doesn't know how to change a flat tire. His like basic Boy Scout skills that probably any other generation would know how to do, but now he doesn't know how to do those things because he's incompetent. And those tend to be like the 3 archetypes that we repeat over and over in our media, in our stories, in our music, in our our movies, and our narrative. And so, and in all of those, it requires women to pick up the slack for the fact that the guy's an abuser. So she's got to be more independent and break away from him. The guy who is Homer Simpson, the guy who is the doofy dad, well, he's just a big kid and he's dead weight, but you got to save him from himself, right? And so therefore she's got to be able to have her own money and have her own education, and have everything else, so she can take care of not only just her own security needs, but also save the dude from himself. And then there's the incompetent guy who can't change a flat, so she's got to make enough money so she can hire the plumber to fix the sink, or she's got to find somebody who's going to be able to change the tire, so she's got the money to do that. And in all of those scenarios, that guy is dead weight, or he can't provide for the beta bucks, for lack of a better term, provisioning, protection, and parental investment side of hypergamy. So when we have conditioned women over the course of 4 generations to believe that those are the only choices that they have, of course they're not going to trust guys. Of course they don't want, like half of the time, like when I'm talking to women who like work for Robert Kiyosaki, like they're empowered women. That they're the followers of Kim Kiyosaki, basically, who's basically the female empowerment version of Rich Dad Poor Dad. And they'll ask me, and they'll talk to me, they'll say, "Hey, Rolo, why can't I find a guy? Why can't I find a man?" And I go, "Well, you become the man that you wanted to marry." Well, yeah, but I did everything that society told me that I'm supposed to do. I went to 4 to 8 years ago, got my education, took out my student loans, and now I got to pay them back. I'm majored in communication or whatever. Now I've got my own business. I'm educated. I have done all of these things that would otherwise make me an alpha male, but I find that now I'm 35 years old and I can't find a guy who wants to have babies with me, and my mom wants to have grandkids, right? And I said, well, you need to get in touch with your inner feminine, just like you were saying, Joe. It's like, you got to find some way to sort of get back to that. And the first thing they tell me is like, what? I got to dumb myself down? Like femininity in that situation means turning yourself stupid. Yeah. I got to be like one of these dumb bimbos with big tits and everything, and pretend like I'm not smart, and pretend like I haven't earned my stripes, and pretend like I haven't earned my education and everything else, just so I can make some man feel good about himself. And I'm like, yeah, well, yeah, because what do you want to do?
I mean, Tristan probably talk about it better from his experience over the last 10 years, through school and education. But you're exactly right. Society, social media, Hollywood is telling these women, go get the bag. Or I shouldn't say that.
You can't trust men, so you have to provide your own
security. You have to get your own career, college, pursue everything. You get all that pride in what you've accomplished, and then it's like, are you really supposed to settle for somebody or not? Because this whole thing has occurred. It's not a criticism. I understand what it is, but it just appears that it was done at the expense of men. Mm-hmm. It was done at the expense of boys that were growing up in school. So maybe back in our day, there would have been an equal amount of men and women, so they would have been able to find someone a little bit more easily. But now it's being done, Tristan is the outlier.
Yeah.
You're the one that's the rarity there, because you're going to university and the ratios are way out of favor, you know, I mean, you might be enjoying that. It might be a blast.
No, Rachel's not. Rachel's not in favor at all.
It's not all that good.
It's not. That's not Vegas. It's not
but
Vegas.
in general, you know, the amount of college degrees that are being given out every year.
Yeah, for sure.
And the ones that are entering the marketplace, and hypergamy just raises its head again, and they're looking for somebody that's either equal or slightly above, and there's just fewer of them to go around. And then they become, they don't trust guys. What they do see available, what they do see that they have access to, they don't trust them.
Yeah,
they don't want to settle for them, and therein lies they can't become feminine again.
Right.
Because it's like, yeah, I'm settling.
But you're talking about a pretty small group of women, though.
I wish I was.
Well, my point is the idea is that they are self-sufficient, right? And that's a pretty small group of women. And so that, and because they are self-sufficient,
it also might speak to the fact that what we were talking earlier is like women between the ages of 18 and 29, more of them are in relationships with guys who are clearly older than they are, because perhaps that's what is motivating them to want to be in some sort of sense of monogamy with an older guy, because that guy can provide, or at least moderately more so, provisioning, protection, and parental investment, whether that's money, whether that's emotional security too. I think a lot of people think that when I talk about long-term security, it's always about like finances. It's not. It could be emotional security as well. It could be connection. Yeah, it could be connection. That security comes in a lot of different forms. So we can't just look at it from the sense of, he makes $100,000 a year. It might be he makes that, but he's also really good with kids, and comes from a good family, and he really loves his chick, right? Sure. So it could be that. But what I was saying is here, maybe this is more to the point. In 2022, right around, I think it was May of 2022, Allie, what's her name? I can't Real Fem Sapien. She was on TikTok, and she was used to be really good friends with Pearl. And she had done this viral TikTok, and her viral TikTok was her talking to Pearl was actually doing the interview. It was Allie who was doing this. And she said something to the effect of like, my husband is my employer, and I'm a stay-at-home mom. And he was in his 50s, and she was in her late 20s. And so that people lose their mind on that already. And how she was trying to have babies. She's had a kid since then. And she was just sitting in the car, and she's doing this impromptu interview. And she says, yes, I submit to my husband. That's what my job is to do, right? Submit. And women on TikTok and on Twitter and everywhere else lost their fucking minds over this. And why? Because this fear that she's getting with a guy and she has no backup plan. So even when she's with a guy who can handle the finances, can handle the emotional security, can handle the provisioning, protection, and parental investment pretty well, and he's 50 at the time, there's still this sort of existential fear that he's going to find a trophy wife. He's going to find somebody better. Well, what if he takes off on you? What if he starts fucking around on you? What if? You got to get the bag, girl. You got to have some sort of fail safe. So it's not just about like providing long-term security for themselves, which might be the case. Like that might be a rarer instance. But what's not so rare is this sort of mentality that there has to be a fail safe between you and that guy, because he might go take off with his secretary and have a trophy wife, and you're left with 2 kids, and you're screwed, right? Which is kind of ridiculous considering like divorce laws and child support today. But yeah,
I remember seeing that in a debate where they brought up this, he's going to leave, and it's like, that's got to be such a small percentage. I mean, that's such an outlier.
Oh, it really is. But the fear is almost universal.
Well, that's because of social media, and they see a girl, another lady on TikTok, and they absorb it all in. And it's like, and that's the other thing too. I think women have issues with they see one that they consider to be their equal, or they think they're more attractive than, and he's got a great guy. So
I should have that. I should at least have that.
That's right. Yeah. So they fall into the trap of Me Tooism from seeing things on social media that drive it. That's the reason they're going to go after the 30-year-old with the 50-year-old is because she's not following the social media sisterhood line. And that's because that's not what the majority of them are saying. That's not what's driving the algorithm for everyone to watch.
So I was going to say, and I brought this up on Dr. Phil too, when I was talking about like how men have become superfluous, right? Yeah. Now, is this like some literal thing that's happening? No, but it's this mentality, this pervasive understanding that like men are, you'll see it's on TikTok or it's on YouTube or Instagram, you see these guys who are like the man on the streets. I think I've even played these on Access Vegas. Do we need men? No, fuck men. Do we need men? No. Do we need men? And it's like every last one of these girls is like just in your face. Fuck men. And honestly, when I see something like that, I go, that's a lack of trust of those guys, or at least the men, not guys in particular, guys in specific, but like the idea of like the global concept of men, right? We don't need men. Right. And of course, that's what you have, like shows like whatever podcasts, or even like Myron and Fresh, when they'll point this out, like we need men. Everything in this room was built by men. The roads you wrote here on were built by men, and trying to make them, sort of self-aware of those things. But it doesn't change that mentality. It's still like those same women that can go on whatever podcast, hear that, and they'll be the next one on the man on the street and say, yeah, fuck men. Yeah. When you ask guys the same question, do men need women? They're like, fuck yeah, especially if they're hot, like they will almost universally answer yes, or women will almost universally answer no. And I think in that universally answering no is really sort of where the attitude is. And maybe it's social media driven at this point.
But I don't think a woman's going to say no if she's not self-sufficient.
Right.
If she's self-sufficient,
then she doesn't need them.
She feels like she's.
And
I'm not saying that's all women.
I don't need. You've heard this.
Probably the criteria.
You probably heard this on a million times on a million shows that I've been on. It's like women will say, "I don't need a man, but I want a man." And so the man they don't need is the guy who can provide long-term security, because she's already got that taken care of, either with her education, her money, or whatever else it is. And even if she doesn't technically have those, like realistically, tangibly, like present, the thought is that she can get those things. So the perception is that's the real. So what am I looking for? I'm looking for Justin Waller. I'm looking for Jason Momoa.
Well, it depends, right? It's just like you were saying. There's probably different levels of trust. And if she makes her own money, then she would want a man that
makes
feels like, well, no, that could be, but feels like he has her back, right?
Well, I've talked to guys.
He wants a woman that he feels like has his back.
True. But I think that only happens if that guy is making substantially enough to cover what she had to cover when it comes to long-term security. So that's why when it's even on Access Vegas, every woman, like when we say, hey, would you give up OnlyFans? Would you give up Instagram?
Exactly.
And they'll say, yeah, if he made more money than I did, if he could provide more security than I'm able to provide for myself, then I would do it. Then I would submit. Then I would defer to his authority.
I mean, it's good that they say that, but even then, I'm wondering if they wouldn't struggle. I mean, true submission, it's like we're gonna move to here and we're gonna do this now. And like to have her give up the ego investment that she has in her own success and wanting to submit, to give up. Look, I've been making decisions for myself since I was 18 years old, and I'm 28 years old now, for 10 years. And now all of a sudden I'm going to give up all the decision making to somebody else.
Right.
And I think that they can say that, but still, I think that they would struggle.
I think that's like I think that's the number one hindrance of women finding a guy. Well, when I see tradcons talk about, we need to incentivize marriage. We need and get these guys away from these red pill podcasts, these red pill guys. And I think, okay, how would you do that? How would you incentivize marriage? How would you incentivize, how would you sweeten the deal, for guys to want to get married? Like, what would it take to sweeten the deal to do that? Would it be submission on the part of the woman? You could ask even traditional conservative women this, and they would still say, no, it should be like, I have traditional conservative women who will say it needs to be 50-50.
Yeah, that's what I say. Like, they won't give up. They'll say, well, I want a partnership. You'll hear them say that.
Partnership, yes.
It's like, I'm not going to.
You're looking for a partnership? You're not looking for shit.
And yeah, it's a real struggle, because they just have so much invested in themselves. They just don't want to give it up.
So I think we're ever going to, like, would people really want people to get married and have babies and solve the fertility crisis and whatever else, you'll save the West? I think that's not going to happen unless you can do two things. You can make marriage like old school marriage. I'm not saying what way you do it now, but I think you need to make old school marriage incentivize. You got to find some way to sweeten the deal for guys. That's number one. The other part, I think, is that we need to get to a point where women can implicitly trust guys, or it's not so maybe that's not the word, maybe implicitly trust them more than they are right now. right? Because it's always, trust but verify at this point. With
I think to get guys on board, it would be a simple change. It wouldn't be a change in the tax code. It would just be a different tax bracket. So if you get married and you start having children and they're your kids.
Yeah.
There would be a
good condition.
They're
your kids.
That right there might be like a good start just to sweeten the deal.
They're already dependent deductions you can take.
And then, because you can stay under the existing tax code, or you could come out with a tax code where, okay, you're married and you're having children and they're both your biological child. And once you have two, like it's 25 grand off your taxes for each one. So once you have two, you have 50 grand off. If you have, and then this is how you sweeten it. You say, look, if you have three, because we really need to get the birth rate above two. If you do three, we'll give you $100,000 tax break as long as you two maintain your marriage, and the three children are your biological
So financial
children.
Incentives.
I think for men, that's how you get them on board. And then because that creates a light at the end of the tunnel for them to be able to financially provide. Man, if I had a trade and I could make 100 grand, we get all 100 grand. And I'm going to be able to buy a house and be able to provide for
I
a
think
wife.
that's probably the first time I've ever heard anything like that.
And be able to have my wife stay at home with the kids for as long as she wants, and then move them, and as long as they stay married. And then you can also make an incentive. It's like, as long as you two stay married, like you can take this tax break up until, say, the kids are 26. And then, but if you stay married, you get to keep half or all of the tax break.
I see.
Right. So you make it financial for guys. And it's, I know that's, people will go, oh,
I think most guys would say, I want a guaranteed blowjob every Saturday. I think that might be the sweeten the deal.
But
can I get the 100 grand and a blowjob every Saturday?
If a guy can get into the trades and he's making 100 grand, and he's taking home every penny, he's going to be able to keep a woman happy enough to the point where he's probably going to be able to be quite happy in that realm, in that side of the relationship.
That'd be interesting.
He'll be the one taking
I would love to bring that up with like traditional conservatives, because they're like it's always like these drive-by comments about like, we really need to find a way to get the guys back with the girls.
And I'm not talking about changing the tax law. It's just you add it in. It's like, you can opt into this program or opt out. It's like, well, what if we're already married and we have kids, but they're not ours? Well, then you stay under the same tax code. But if you're still married, you can still have kids together, and we'll give you the tax break. But it's got to be very strict, very simply write it on one page, and that's it.
Cool.
And that, because for guys, that's how we think. We're logical, right? So we're looking at, okay, can I make the money? And if I'm making the money, then the women will maybe come along.
Last question. Do you want to get married again?
Oh, you asked him that.
Oh, did I ask him, do you want to get married again?
Oh, I wouldn't say no. I'm not going to say no.
Even after everything, you've been married once,
well,
right? Once.
Okay. We were together for over 30 years. So it's, I don't say no to anything off the bat anymore. I try to meet women. I try to get to know them.
Are you specifically looking for women that you might be able to marry in the future? Maybe that's a better question.
I'm looking to make friends and have fun. And if I find somebody that's, find somebody that I really connect with, we'll see where it goes. But it's not a focus of my life. It's not even the top 5.
So you're not dating with intent?
No. Well, no.
Are you dating with intent, young man?
Lots of
I
intent,
think,
of course.
We both meet women
all
the time. We both meet women all the time. And I would say that it's not even in the top 5 things of my primary focus of what I'm trying to do with my life right now. But I do meet them, and we just, I think Ryan, it's a bit of a dark thing, but Ryan said, just whenever you see somebody, when you see a woman, just imagine like she's already got a body count of 100.
Yeah.
But stick around to find out.
No, Mike says, imagine she has like chlamydia.
Yeah. But what that does is you don't have any investment in her right off the bat. Right. You can maintain a bit of aloofness and you can have a real conversation. Because Mike also says, talk to him like a guy. Talk to him like you would one of your best friends. Hey, bro, what's up? But then you stick around and get to know them and find out if you're wrong or not.
Yeah.
Find out if they're a good woman, and they might be.
Joe, are you dating with intent?
No.
No. Okay, good. Are you dating with intent, young man?
Lots of
God damn it.
I'm not sure.
Too much intent.
How will we save the West?
I'm not sure that we can describe on a YouTube video the type of intent Tristan has.
What's your intent?
Rollo, I'm not having any more kids. Rollo.
You're not okay.
I'm not the savior of the West.
I get you. Last super chat here. Rational Agent says, How is it about intimidation? If this guy looks like Jocko Willink, very built and strong authority, is here a coherence with state of ovulation? Dude, you need like English as your second language.
So she's in a proliferative phase.
Proliferative phase. Let's see. How is it about intimidation? If the guy looks like Jocko Willink, belt and strong authority, is her I don't even know what is here a coherence with a state of ovulation. I don't know what you're talking about, brother.
It depends on what she's attracted to. If she's in her proliferative phase, she has her attraction.
Talking about
cues.
ovulatory shift is what.
I knew you would correct me for whatever.
Well, it's ovulatory shift, and so what you're saying is like if he's too intimidating at that point. Well, the thing is I don't think it's so much about intimidation. Women search for violent porn more than guys do, like way more than guys do. They tend to be more attracted to dark triad personalities. They tend to be, they're looking for guys, or they're looking for bad dudes, man. But I think what happens is like a lot of guys think that they got to be like bodybuilder, like
bad dudes can protect.
I'm gonna say something like, I'll say right now is like, if you have like sort of a swimmer's body, that's probably more attractive than a guy who's like super uber jacked. I like that's the popular consensus.
Yeah.
Of course, then I go and see these jacked dudes with hot chicks.
Yeah, right.
But
right.
no, I will say this is true, and I didn't realize this was going to be. I never thought I would experience this in my life, but they have that one meme where it's like this guy who's like really skinny and he's imagining himself like working out and stuff, and all the chicks are going to want him because he's got a bigger, better body, he's got a V-taper and everything, and the women are just surrounding him. Oh. And then in the next frame, it's like he actually gets jacked, and it's like nothing but guys that are around. Hey, dude, what's your lifting program? What's your nutrition like? You know, and stuff like that. It's like dead ass true too.
That's a great example of what Ryan Stone talks about in his praxeology book about frame and dread. That you can't write covert contracts like I'm going to get big and I'm going to get chicks. It's like no, that's a covert contract. That's a desired outcome. You're not telling anybody else about. You're getting bigger. To be a better, more interesting version of yourself.
True.
And whatever the outcomes are from that are what they are.
Oh, Michael, how are there so many attractive men in one room at the same time? Of course, you guys are good with women. You're all chads. Thank you for the vote of confidence, Mike. All I got to do is put Tristan on a damn show, and I get to see what Chad. That's the first. God damn it! It's the first $10 I ever got out of you. That's great. Okay, well, let's wrap up. What do you got going on? And I mean, other than the stuff that you and I do, is there any you want to drop any plugs or anything like that? Or no. We're just going to be doing what we do. Yeah. Yep. So we have the I guess we'll call it the MOA Masters, or we're going to call it the Master Series, or we can't call it the
we'll talk about it.
Yeah, we'll talk about it. So Joe and I, and I guess Jim too, is we're working. Yeah, he's here to help. For guys who are 45 to 65, and we are now sort of announcing this partnership with the ink hasn't dried just yet, but it will be soon. I actually had to start an LLC to do this.
You did.
So yeah, you want to talk about?
Yeah.
I think people don't really realize like how much fucking work I do. I've got this studio here. I work with the MOA guys. I do my own authoring, everything else. We're going to events. We're doing stuff. So. I also wanted to point this out. I would be remiss if I didn't say this. Is that my personal reason for this, and I've told you guys both this. The reason why I want to do this primarily is not. I mean, I want to help guys who are like sort of at risk, obviously, but it's doing something. And there's so many guys in the red pill right now who just want to do reaction videos, or they want to do. It's like it's just long on rhetoric and short on. I don't think it's solutions. I think it's short on action. And I think by doing this, we're really kind of taking action, and we're really doing something that's like firsthand. We're on the streets with a guy like Harold or whoever else, and we're actually doing something. The immersive, when you're doing the immersive, you're actually fucking doing something. Yeah. Because no, like when I go and I look, and maybe this is because it's just like the sort of like social media mentality. But when I look online and I look on YouTube and I look on Instagram and I look on these guys who are critics of the red pill. I'm like, well, that's because all you're doing is you're responding to people who are doing reaction videos and who probably have no reason to be in the red pill to begin with. I think that if we're going to do something, we need to do something that's tangible. And I think this is finally something that's tangible that can really help make a fucking difference, right? And what you guys do and that's why you're the only program I have ever endorsed, like, straight away, is because you're bottom up and not top down. It's not like we're going to save the world, no, that's top down.
Yeah.
We're going to change the laws. We're going to change society. We're going to okay. That to me seems like a fool's errand. But what you guys do is you go each one tell one. And that's kind of like what we're doing too. So it's like we're working man by man by man by man. And then each one tells one, and then exponentially, that's how you affect change, right? So when you guys are doing the immersive, when we're doing our program and stuff like that, it's actually something that is tangible and not just rhetoric and bullshit that's coming out of our mouths all the time. And was primarily my reason to do this, because I see too many content creators who are quote unquote red pill content creators that do jack shit. They don't. They're not ideas guys. They don't have books. They don't have programs. They don't have anything. All they do is just talk shit, and they make a good. What we were saying, the most monetizable, commodity in the world is bullshit. Is bullshit. So, anyways, what do you got going on?
Oh,
where are you flying to next?
Oh my goodness, I think I'm going back to Seattle to take an airplane to Miami.
Oh boy,
I'm really.
What's her name?
Bria. She's Italian. No, I'm really just, my primary focus is my career. I have a great job with a really, really good airline and I get along really well with my chief pilot, which is unusual. So it's really good. And,
that's good.
And I'm just trying to, but secondarily, I'm just helping you guys and enjoying every chance I can while I'm in Vegas, trying to get
Isn't it
back.
great that you can help other guys and you can still like pick up chicks in Vegas? Yeah. I think Vegas is like, when I first got here and I started working with Mike, I think the first 2 episodes of Access Vegas I really had to change my mind about the social setting I was in, because we're in a very unique place here.
Yeah.
I'm not like other guys. Because here the standards are a whole lot different. Like when I'd say, your social experiment, do some people watching from TSA to the gate, and you'll get a cross section of what real normal American people look like. Right.
Yeah.
Whereas like every other week we're doing, shows with OnlyFans girls, strippers, FHM models, and all the girls that we have on there. And I have to really kind of like break my head out of thinking that that's the norm. It's not really the norm.
Yeah.
So, what do you guys going on next? Oh, and tell us about your new show. And I know you did something with Mike not too long ago.
Yeah. I'm starting up a new show. Just talking about a lot of things that we're talking about here, just really geared towards men's self-development, but it will also have some comedic aspects to it. But there's actually a lot of guests lined up who are going to come on. We have you on next.
Sure.
Absolutely. So I'll be doing that. I'll be co-hosting Access Vegas every once in a while. And if you guys have any questions about MOA, about immersion, anything like that, Roll's got my info. Feel free to hit me up directly.
For sure. And I got you on the banner right there. Sam Bottom, my moderator. Can you put that in the chat for me, please? I would appreciate that.
Awesome.
All right, guys. Thank you guys for joining this. I don't think I've ever done a panel show for the Rational Male. So you guys are my test subjects for this one. I'll be back. We're doing Access Vegas probably, I think, in 2 weeks now. And check us out if you're interested in MOA. If you're interested in the older, mature, the seasoned gentleman's branch of the MOA tree, you can find the link to MOA it's in the description. I think it's the second one down in my description right now. If you need to talk to me on Connect, you can find that there as well. Please, if you haven't read The Rational Male, it's available on Amazon and Audible as well, if you like to listen to your books, which of course all the kids do. And so I've got I'm working right now on our primer for that. I've decided that I'm going to make that actually a real book, and I'm going to end up putting it on Amazon. So not only will it be something that we're going to give to the guys, it's something that other like older gentlemen who want this help will be able to pick up like commercially through Amazon. So that's coming up as well. And what else do we have coming down this? Mike's going to be with Ty Lopez middle of next week. We'll have Robert Kiyosaki in here, probably in this studio sometime between the 10th and the 12th. And we've got some other good events coming up as far as what is he doing? So the immersion is we're doing one actually tonight. Okay. And how long does that go? It goes from Sunday to Saturday. So it's Sunday, a full week.
Basically a full week.
Okay. And where do the guys stay? And I'm curious, like, what the logistics are about.
They do it on their own.
Okay, so they get their own accommodations. You guys,
Yeah.
I was wondering if there's like a tiered kind of thing for that.
No.
And what is it? It mainly consists of going out and just sort of interaction, and then like sort of field reports, and everybody gets back together and talks in the.
Yeah, I mean, we take those elements of it, but we do like to have it a little more personalized for every single guy, because every guy's going to come in with certain strengths and weaknesses.
Sure.
So we really do sit down with guys. That's usually what Sunday is for, to go over like what they're trying to get out of it, and then we kind of make a game plan of what weaknesses they're going to attack for the next 7 days.
Cool. So it's personalized. That's
100%.
That's great, man. Awesome. All right, guys. Well, that's it for me. If you want to get involved in MOA, my link is actually right down below, and all my books, of course, are down below as well. So we'll see you guys next week, and we are out of here.
Would you do it again? I need to feel you on top of me. It was my first time, but I was just a kid when we met and went to bed. It was my first time. What do you expect from me? I'm breaking up the rules now in the game. I've got some new tools. Please do the same. Time came by when open like a matchbox stereo. Time to keep my thoughts now let go. Bound to keep me up all night. But maybe we can fuck again, and maybe things are different. Goddamn, baby, one more again. Won't you put it on me one more again? I need to know if maybe we can fuck again, then maybe things are different. Goddamn, baby, one more again. Could have the best of my life. The best of my life. Now we're fucking in the bathroom, tearing up every wall while I got your hair. Why you screaming my name? She was swinging in the bedroom, whole time stopping and stubbing with her hair, like she's Claudia Kelly. So baby, come ride me up and down like a pony, turning up my song, getting messy, working up and down on your body. Ride me up and down like a pony, turning up my song on your body. Baby, we'll get down to it all night. But maybe we can fuck again, and maybe things are different. Goddamn, baby, one more again. Won't you put it on me one more again? I need to know if maybe we can fuck again, then maybe things are different. Goddamn, baby, one more again.
The Kitty Podcast has been a production of the Rational Male. All rights reserved. Registered. Trademark 2024. Don't steal stuff.